mode.
Hello and welcome to the double Gameweek 26 matchup show. We are NetxG Hall and I'm FPL Nemo, joined by my co-host FPL Lens. How are you, mate?
Bit in knots this morning, Nima. As you know, we've been struggling here with some tech issues all morning, so apologies for the delay. Timestamp: we are 25 minutes late this morning. It's 8:25 here in the Sonoran Desert, 8:25 a.m. Time is it over there?
It's 3:25 p.m. in London, so yeah, we're meant to go live at 3 o'clock. So apologies for that, guys. And sorry for everyone who's waiting around. I'm sure some of them will have to catch up the beginning via VOD because they'll have quit by now. But anyway, so just quickly to go into this week. Obviously, there's 2 days left till deadline. We've seen some news coming out about Jota and his injury and Weghorst and his injury, so there's a lot to digest. I think we don't have Mariner, so obviously we're going to miss Chris today. So there's a shout out to him. He's in London, and many of the FPL community are going to meet him later this week on Saturday for the matchups. So while we're here, I'm just going to do a quick mini league update as well. And we essentially think that at this point we should be closing the entries, because I was listening to another pod, Gabe, while you're trying to get that up, and I saw they've closed the entries now because people are coming in and they're shooting straight up to number one on their arrival, and other people feel hard done by who've been there all season. So I think to help the haulers, we're going to close that league now, I think before the double game week, because otherwise that might be a bit intense if someone does really well and joins at the top. I think the prizes can't be so corruptly won. And we can't give Mariner a prize. That's another thing.
We might have to with the kind of season he's having. I think he's 200 and something OR.
Yeah, I guess, and that brings us to the mini league table. So he is up there competing with these managers. I think right now he's sitting in fourth, as you can see. The brothers Grimsby, Chris Turner in the mini league, so he's on 1,700 points, a smooth 90, I think, ahead of me. So I thought I was having a good season, but he's having an incredible one. I'm sure people will be wondering when he's back to ask him what his next transfer is. He's got the Midas touch at the moment. So number one is Brad Curry, so Pfizer Chiefs. He's leading the pack at the moment, just ahead of Chris with 6 points lead. Then we've got FPL Milanista, so Obaid, another friend of the show, on 1,705. We've got Los Polos Hermanos. Now, you told off, I saw you telling off Mariner. Tell us how I should be pronouncing this.
So Polo is Italian, but in
Polo.
Spanish, the double L becomes a Y. So it's Los Pollos Hermanos.
Los Pollos Hermanos.
Which, of course, is a reference to Breaking Bad.
Of course, no, I know that much. But so Luciano Luca Rosso sounds almost like Lucky Luciano. Look him up, famous Mafia Don. And to round off the top five, we've got a Template FC Tiger Rattigan on 1,700 as well, so tied. So that's crazy, right? The top five, 6 points separate them, all above 1,700. Anyone who's listening or watching, do tweet us after if you're in the 1,700 point club. I'd love to know where you are and why you're not in the mini league, because I will be closing it soon. So just to go from there, I just want to read a few team names out for the rest of the top 10, because there's some pretty fun ones. So we've got number 6 is Ross Mason, pain in the ass. We've got Safeguards from Khalid Badake. Got Mohamed Salisu, Tim Brown, the Kong FPL Planner, another friend of the show, Tien Yo, and Tierney's Tesco bag. I had to get that one in. So Tom Robinson, thanks for repping Tierney. He'll be discussed very much so today on the stream. So kind of anything else we want to go through? Any housekeeping before we say hi to some of the viewers? And we'll
absolutely, there's something very important we have to talk about today, and it's a cause for celebration, Nima. A good friend of ours, FPL Robbie, he's at Rob Man Gun Song on Twitter. He's our first supporter.
Yeah, the first member on YouTube. I know he was surprised himself as well. And I said, thanks so much. Obviously, it means a lot. So we don't really mention it since we got it going a few weeks back. But obviously, it's just to help the channel grow. And it's really nice to see some of the members and haulers coming in now, showing their support to help us kind of get more data, as you've been looking into, and some very interesting visualizations for next season, and hopefully better animations and graphics. So lots of good stuff to come. And thanks to Robbie. What a great hauler.
Robbie, he's awesome. He's Dutch. I've DM'd with him for a long time, and he's just a really good guy. And that kind of support really does give us the kind of the leverage to go beyond, and any support that we get, it's like a nonprofit. We reinvest it in ourselves to then provide something better for the community, and that's been our MO from the beginning. And so thank you, Robbie, for helping us kind of advance that cause.
No, that is awesome, and I've been with him in a UCL chat. I think it was AFCON as well. So lots of formats I've never played till this season. So he's a kind of multi-format fantasy lover.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely one of us. And if he's ever here in London, or anyone else from the listeners who comes over, do give me a heads up when you're coming, and I'm sure we can plan one of the next monthly events around the date of your arrival and welcome you with 30 to 40 FPL friends like Mariner's about to receive on Saturday in the shock of his life. So 12:30 till midnight, all night out, 8 matches of football. There's a boxing match as well at 10.
Oh
I
my
wonder who's still going to be
goodness.
standing at the end of this. Yeah, Mariner and his son. That's going to be an interesting
Uh,
dynamic. So
it's going to be a knockout for everybody. Everyone's just going to be knocked out on that day.
we've got Boona there as well, ready to inject everyone's pain and tears. So yeah, there's a lot of going to be an interesting time. I wonder if there'll be any reaction videos of any raw moments like the last meetup.
Well, all I have to say is that there better be a video call from you guys to me, and then I'll join you guys and then in a couple drinks on that call.
Yeah, no, you got to definitely come as well next time. We're going to get you over. So, going on then, just anyone who's here, thanks for supporting the channel, as we were saying. There is a membership. It does give you obviously a little support badge when you're in the live chat and a couple of emojis. There's only a handful now, but we'll be looking to make quite a few fun ones and headshots of all of us with our reactions from streams. So, support the channel. And one lucky winner on Saturday is going to win a Net That Haul t-shirt as well. So, we'll see how that goes. That'll be interesting. And from now on, I think the "What Are You Waiting For" t-shirts are coming soon too. So hit like, hit subscribe, and if you download on the podcast, listen to the Apple Podcast and leave a review, please. But otherwise, let's get straight into it. Let's go to the philosophy of the week. We'll shout out some people, and then we'll go into the metrics.
All right. You want to do the philosophy first or hellos first?
Yeah, let's go through the hellos first.
All right.
So we've got I've come in and out, so I see Dread as one of the first people, but I think there was a lot of people here before Dread. I think
Yeah,
I've lost those messages.
it's our friend Blue Danube guy. He was first. Oh no, sorry, Gerard Fantasy Pavilion was the first one into it. Pavilion was first. Then we have Blue Danube guy, Mike Halpin coming in early as well. LFC Bear coming in with a brilliant quote when when there was silence here. I'm looking for that quote. There it is. LFC Bear says, "Silence is a source of great strength." And that's a quote by Lao Tzu. And that's a reference to how late we were getting started. So I love the positive spin on that. Who else we got? We got Lucian, FPL teacher in here. Welcome, my friend. FPL Dallas in the house. Nehal, such a loyal brother.
Bear as well was here, and Mike Halpin. You've said there's a few friends of the show came earlier, didn't they?
Yeah.
You've shouted out Nehal, FPL Dallas is here as well. Escapades, Gorov. Yeah, I think everyone's looking to know about the Arsenal stuff, so I hope I don't lead them astray today and get them onto the wrong asset. That I really hope not.
This is going to turn into Arsenal talk again, isn't it?
I made sure I even wore the jersey today. Yeah,
friggin' Arscast, gosh. Yeah, the Italian Travertine jersey. That's weird. All right, shall we move on to the philosophy of the week? This week's philosophy comes to us from Maya Angelou. And the quote is, "A bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song." And I'm going to read it. I wrote some notes about this. At first, the quote struck me, but it didn't really strike me for FPL. But then I was thinking about it, and then I was thinking, and we had a quote before, like a couple of weeks ago, saying life can only be understood backwards, but we have to live it forwards, or something to that effect. And answers in FPL are learned in hindsight like that, when we see the results, right? We here at Net That Haul have always said you must do your own thinking and come to your own conclusions. So we are not here because we have any answers for you. Those looking for Arsenal answers, triple captain, bench boost, which Liverpool player to put it on. We don't have any answers for you. We are only here because we have a certain song to sing, a certain narrative to share. So as Nima ducks off the screen, and impeccable timing here as I finish up the philosophy.
Yeah, no, I've the dog is barking away at some dog
I figured.
outside, and I'm trying to convince it to come here to shut it up. But she wants to be on the stream, I guess, for a bit. Let's see when she starts attacking me and gets fed up. But yeah, let's so yeah, no, I think that's a very interesting take, because it's the same for me. Like when I talk to FPL kind of addicts, when I do anything to do with FPL, I'm looking to share that song and that enjoyment of that journey of the game together. I'm
Mhm.
not really looking to get their advice and be like, what should I do? Should I do this transfer? Like I might say, out of these two moves that I've narrowed it down to, what do you prefer? And I'd like to see what another style of player would do. But I'm not looking for answers, I think, is the main thing. Like,
But even that question, right? Which do you prefer? Their preference and their advice, people's advice, is just another song.
just another
Nobody
opinion,
has
yeah.
the answers. Nobody has the friggin' answers. Here's a perfect example. Mariner had a song at last week's show, right, about Lacazette. I laughed to no end at that song because I thought it was hilarious. Lacazette comes back with a return. Like Mariner didn't have an answer. He had a song. I didn't have an answer not going with Lacazette. I had a different song. Now that we look backwards, that we can look back on that, my song was wrong. His song was right for this past game week. So just remember, none of us have any answers. We all just have songs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the loudest song of all is always going to be the ones who get points in any given game week. So you see on Twitter,
Right.
everyone's like, what, whoever you don't own that got points, that's the song you'll see on the timeline. And when there's a blank incoming, you'll see the song coming from the non-owners. So I think it's important to take those highs and lows and the punches as they come, because, like we all thought last game week was over, and the United boys, both sides got the returns, and it kind of, right at the end, we were vindicated, but it wasn't really deserved, you could say.
I don't think anybody that gets points that I don't get deserve those points.
Exactly. Oh no, you laughed about the Fabinho song. At least I wasn't the one laughing about
Oh my!
Fabinho.
Gerard he's the king of song. He's got the Pookie song. He's got the Fabinho song. He's like, should I bring Fabinho in? I'm like, you're insane if you bring Fabinho in. You're using up a Liverpool slot, and it comes in, scores. I bet you Fabinho scores against Leeds as well.
He has more goals than Ronaldo in 2022. It's crazy, isn't it? It's just like the Cody incident. I feel like when we all go together next month, we're all going to go into the fancy pavilion together as a trio of Net That Hall. That'll be fun time. We'll have a good time for our friend over there. So
Oh,
Rubber
Gerard's just
Ducky's
looking
here,
to
by the way.
trolls. There he is. He's
Rubber
got the
Ducky's got
answer.
the answers. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
The inanimate rubber object in your bathtub. Listen to that.
Oh, nice. The wire just finished, so our
Okay,
delay helped
perfect.
us. Yeah, we're back up to 16 viewers, guys. Hit that like while you're here, please. 3 of you don't like the stream so far, but I apologize. I need to ask more often. I realize I look back on shows and I just drink red wine and forget to plug anything. So, as I said, soon, not now, but soon, once I get the ball shavers in my hands, I'll be sending you guys some codes to get 20% off those
That's
Manscaped
right.
products. So that is coming, but it's not an ad yet because I don't have a product. And, obviously, we've got to talk about our own first-hand experiences. Now, if those products arrive before Saturday, Dread, we will bring some and do a live shaving demonstration of Chris at this FPL meetup in London Mariner Fest. So
Yeah,
anyone who's
you
listening,
guys will shave something. We don't know. We don't know what it is, but yeah. Hopefully you guys can help us haul in those wire viewers. Have them check this out because we're about to get into the FDRs, Nima. Should we do
yeah, I
this?
know. We're going to go into the Gameweek 26 data. So let's do this.
Let's go.
Oh, we're getting questions about minus 12s. I love that. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Triple up Arsenal, minus 12s.
So here we go. FDR. We got, so for the podcast listeners, looks like
You disappeared.
I disappeared.
Oh, the Wire benching Cancelo buying Lukaku. Okay, wow. Yeah, things are getting out deep here. Is this because of Jota? Oh, we can sell some Nima branded Borat suits. The Borat suit's a long way away. That's like got to be something like, at least maybe I'd say, I'm not going to put a number on it. It's too realistic, but like 10K subs, like big numbers we're talking.
Yeah, at 10K, I will buy Nima his Mankini.
Yeah, 10K subs. And
And
hopefully,
Mariner, yeah, no. Okay, so here we go with the FDR. We have the FDR for Gameweek 26 and 27 doubles. So let's start, Nima, with we have Arsenal defense, right? We have, let's see, Arsenal defense, one of the best this week, second best this week at 3.2, right? We have versus Brentford, and I think there it is, 2.8 versus Wolves for Arsenal defense, which is some quite nice numbers, kind of second best for this game week. What are your thoughts? Mariner has a note here that Tierney would be on his shopping list if he were to free hit in 27.
yeah, I think that's the plan. Yeah, that's the issue for me. So I've already got 3 Liverpool players and Saka, so I'm gonna have 4 blanks in 27, and I want to buy an Arsenal defensive asset because I think someone like a Ramsdale or a Tierney. I will talk a little bit about Gabriel as well. I think Gabriel runs Tierney very close, actually, in the exciting side of things. White, a cheap enabler. So I think they're all valid options, but not if you don't have a plan in 27. So I think those who are fortunate enough to be free hitting in 27, either with their last one or because they have 2 and they can easily use this one, I would be going triple Arsenal into this game week without a doubt. And I'd probably want at least double defense. I think the defense is where the value will be at. It's 2 home games. They're both against teams that I don't see scoring much. And I've just seen like Arsenal have let in 1 non-penalty goal in like the last 7 Premier League games or something. So, and our run is looking very kind. So for me, who has De Gea, I have not owned Ramsdale all season. Ramsdale's someone I'm looking at. So Tierney is exciting, but I feel like Ramsdale's a more solid, like long-term pick that I don't have. But yeah, if someone's free hitting in 27, I would be bringing in the likes of Tierney with that. Because then you could probably have triple Liverpool now, triple Arsenal, and you're not going to have 6 assets missing next game week. So there's a lot. That's the issue for me. It's like, how can you navigate game week 27 if you keep buying Arsenal assets? Now, the flip side of the coin is by buying Arsenal assets, the other beauty of it, Gabriel, for me, is because they are definitely playing in game week 30, you are buying another ticket to potentially not having to use a free hit then. Now, I have one. I'm probably going to use it in 30. But if that Burnley Southampton fixture gets added, which we're not going to know till after the game week 27 deadline at the earliest, then I'll not have to free hit because I can buy the likes of those, and we'll come to the Burnley players in a moment, but I can buy the Burnley defense maybe as well, and they'll cover me in game week 30 if that game goes ahead, and maybe I buy a Broha. So obviously that covers me another asset. So I'm trying to avoid free hitting altogether is what I'm getting at till about 33 when there's the semi-finals of the cup, and it's going to be another kind of blank plus double like we're going to get in 27. It's going to be one of those combo ones we're seeing that I really like, and those are really nice for free hits, I think. So I would definitely use it in 27 if I had 2, and I would use the other one maybe in 30 or 33. And as only 1 free hit, I'm looking at 30 or 33. So that's kind of my strategy. Let's just get the chip strategy out of the way. And then based on that, I feel like it's very hard now because every single person listening, this is the most that's happened this season so far. We're all going to have different answers and need different songs because we have completely different plans for our chips. So someone like me, I can't be bringing in triple Arsenal. If I was free hitting 27, I'd 100% do it. I'd have Tierney, I'd have Ramsdale, and I'd have Saka. Those would be the 3 I'd go for. And I'd just keep them long term and free hit them out at 27. There's another thing we've not discussed. Arsenal and Chelsea could both double in 28. So again, you've got to ask yourself, what are you going to do? Because if you're going to not free hit 30, you're going to use game week 28 and 29 to buy teams like Burnley and Southampton when Chelsea have a double, Arsenal have a double. So it's again, there's so much difficulty about the income for us. I feel from this game, kind of 26 to 31 period, it's going to be really intense. I think, and people are going to fly and fluctuate between ranks, and I think no one's going to have like the same path anymore, and that's very exciting for me. I don't know what you think, Gabe. I know that's a tangent off Arsenal, but
No, but I think it frames the conversation really well because we're looking here at teams for 26 and 27, the doubles there, and I think your point is good because we can't look at transfers without putting them in the context of our chip strategy and our current situation, right? We can't just think of a transfer in a vacuum unless we are maybe wildcarding soon or something like that. So every transfer we look at, so if we're looking at an Arsenal defensive transfer in this week, we have to look at it with the blank in 27 in mind, with a potential double in 28 in mind, and that's why it makes like every conversation about every single player it makes it a long conversation because we need to start connecting everything: the chips, the transfers, strategies, the short term, the medium term, and the for the rest of the season. I think. I have to say, what's the best in your opinion? You know, we're looking at these Arsenal defense right now. So, who's the best Arsenal defensive option?
So I
Top
think there's gonna like I would actually go for Gabriel. I think because for me, I think
over
that he will
Ramsdale.
no over Tierney.
I mean,
Yeah,
like
that's the issue.
including
But
the goalkeeper.
no, I think it depends again because it depends who you have.
Hmm.
So if you were on a wild card, I would pick like a Ramsdale and Sanchez combo maybe and play Sanchez in 27. So those people are quite fortunate, Sanchez owners who can move David De Gea to Ramsdale. If I do David De Gea to Ramsdale, I don't have a goalkeeper next week. So
But
that's the issue. I've got to think about
let's
that. Yeah,
remove the context a little bit. Just rank the Arsenal defensive assets, including the goalkeeper, like
I
the
think it's
top
Ramsdale. Yeah,
three,
no, no.
top or top four,
Ramsdale's the top. Like for me,
top.
Ramsdale will likely be like one of the highest top 5 scoring players in the double game because I'll put my neck out there and say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty confident of that. Like he gets bonus even if he doesn't get the save point. So like
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm pretty happy with that kind of goalkeeping
Mm-hmm.
performance. And I've not had him all season. I've watched him live many times, and I loved him get ridiculed before he joined too. So it will be very nice to own him, and I can't wait. So he's one of my 100% transfers in this week over Pope. So
So
yeah,
let me present you with a scenario here. If you were to choose between, say, a lot of people have De Gea, right, as their goalkeeper, and say they have a defender like Livermento, would you go De Gea to Ramsdale with one free transfer, or would you go Livermento to Tierney
no, no, to Gabriel. Yeah,
Gabriel?
yeah, I would go Livermento to Gabriel quite
And
aggressively.
really,
Yeah,
instead
because
of De
David De
Gea
Gea
to
will have 2
Ramsdale.
games anyway, like Ramsdale, and then later on by game week 28, if Arsenal getting on a double, then I can get Ramsdale then eventually. So that's
So
kind of how I'm thinking about Burnley as well. Like, do I really like their double now? I know it's a double double. I'll get
but,
Weghorst for it.
hold on.
Yeah,
I want to stick with Arsenal. Just
just Arsenal,
don't
but
go
yeah,
to
yeah.
Burnley because
So
in that
Gabriel, I
case,
would pick in that move because more aggressive. I think it's got way more upside.
s-
Like I see him scoring a
right.
goal. Hopefully, like he's a threat on
I don't know
set
about that.
pieces. No, so that's the thing. So he's the target man on the set pieces. Like there's
Yeah,
no one else in that box they're aiming for apart from him. So it's not
he's
Ben
had
White. It's not anyone else.
no for sure, and he's had 10 attempts from set pieces or headed attempts this season, and he has about I think 2 or 3 goals from that. So he's definitely a target. But here's where I would throw a bit of a wrench in that perspective because that means people that are doing that. That means they're probably going to bench maybe a city defender,
But I wouldn't
but
bench the city defender. That's what I
but
mean.
uh,
So it depends
but
what you're gonna do.
that's what I'm saying. Like if you're transferring a field player, it probably means you're benching a single week player. Whereas if you're transferring the goalkeeper, you still get to play that city defender and you get Ramsdale.
But then you
So
might lose
that
the Hale points on the bench. So I feel like that's an equally valid. Like
De Gea
they're
against
both
Leeds
similar.
though.
But he could pull out like a 12 pointer on your bench. This is what I mean. So you never know. Like that's the beauty of these
I
goalkeepers and cheap assets
yeah.
in defense. They normally keep clean sheets in the games we don't expect them to. So
So
often I'll like bench them and then they'll get a haul.
so why do you think De Gea could pull out a double digit haul against Leeds?
Because for me, right, like Leeds do not look great. Like Dan James is playing striker. Um, that for me is already like I know he had a good game, but you know that can happen. But overall, it's not someone I consider a quality player. I don't think Leeds have looked good at all. I realistically, like, no offense to our Leeds listening fans, I do worry if they will survive. Like, I do think they
Mm-hmm.
could very well be relegated. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another worry for me. Like I've seen people talking about they own Rafinha and they were considering selling him this week. That seems obscene. Obviously, he has a game in 30. He's got a double now. He plays in 27. So I don't know if I'd be selling them, but Leeds is not someone that I really think you want assets from, and I'd be targeting against them. So this week, like if I had Bruno, I think I would actually keep him. Like I've seen people with Bruno and De Bruyne, and I would rather go De Bruyne to Salah than get rid of Bruno this week against Leeds. That's my thinking. Whereas
That's
Ronaldo, I worry about Ronaldo's minutes because he was benched against Burnley, and they said that that was tactical because there was going to be a lot of running. Right now, he
right.
started 2 games in a row. What's another game with a lot of running? Leeds, and then there's the Champions League. So I'm like, oh, this. So I think Ronaldo's going to be benched. So I own him. So that's an easy sell. But if I had Bruno, I don't think I'd be selling him. And I like that Leeds game, and that new formation is the other thing I'll say. So I think United have looked better in the new formation, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they are prone to like a little lapse in judgment or an error leading to a goal. But I think Leeds aren't this great attacking threat that we remember them as last year, and I think that's a bit of a nostalgia feeling. Like their data doesn't rack up like it did a year ago.
Rafinha against Luke Shaw.
But I know you love Rafinha, but
I mean,
for all
everybody
we
loves
know, like
Rafinha.
Telles might start. Like we don't even know.
Rafinha
That's the
against
thing.
Telles, that's great too. Telles not a good defender either.
I
I mean,
know you don't like United's
yeah,
defense.
De
That is
Gea
true.
has two double-digit hauls this season, right? And one of them was against Norwich.
But you know what it is? I hate
To
goalkeeper transfers though. So like, because what you're doing is you're buying Ramsdale, but he's got a double then a blank. So I'm willing to not have a goalkeeper next week, right? But De Gea, he has 2 games too. So I'm like, well, they're not the worst games. The next one is Watford. Like, it's not inconceivable for United to keep those clean sheets.
yeah,
They've been drawing 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. Like, they keep conceding this really crap goal.
yeah, I mean, and here's and we'll move on quickly because 25 minutes in, we've only done Arsenal defense. But just the reason I bring this up is because I want to dispel that dogma. Like, first of
Oh,
all,
that you
I
can't make a
can't
goalkeeper transfer.
that a goalkeeper transfer is inherently is always inferior to
But I think
another
this could actually
transfer.
be this could be a more
But
aggressive move, you could say.
that's
Because,
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. I think going De Gea to Ramsdale could be a better move for some managers because some people will be moving a defender means that they would be benching a City asset or a single game week player that could do well. And I'd prefer a single like a City defender to De Gea, and I'd
No,
prefer
I guess you're right,
Ramsdale to
and I
any of
can't
those
deny,
defenders.
I'm playing devil's advocate here, but my transfer is my 3.9 million goalkeeper to Ramsdale on a
Yeah,
-4. Like I'm doing that, but I'm keeping De Gea. That's the thing. So I'm not doing De Gea to
right.
Ramsdale. And I think I got stuck on you saying like that move of De Gea to Ramsdale. Whereas people are going to be freeing up a lot of funds. So
Yeah.
actually, people probably do have the money to get their second goalkeeper to Ramsdale now. And if they've got a wild card, they can fix that later. If there's been a
Yep.
two, like I did it right, and I can get Son, I can get Ramsdale and someone like Weghorst and still have 2 million in the bank. So it's like
Yep.
money's not an issue right now if I'm selling a United player like Ronaldo, and therefore Ramsdale seems a obvious upgrade.
Yeah.
I want him long term. So yeah, I think maybe not, but that's the thing. I'm not free hitting 27, and if I was, I'd be doing both those moves. I guess is what I'm saying. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
going into this game week without double Arsenal defense. It would be Ramsdale plus Gabriel. I would have them both. I would free hit in 27. I'd be very happy I still have 2 free hits. That would be the ideal scenario right now. Like I'm gutted I won't have a Gabriel or a Tierney, and anyone who can get one on top of Ramsdale, I think get him as a second. So I think that's your
Good.
point. Like Ramsdale's the number one. He's the primary pick, the better pick. And then from an attacking point of view, for me, if you've got 2 defenders already from Arsenal, there's only one spot left, and to me, it can't be anyone but Saka.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Lacazette punts, but yeah, it has to be Saka for me and Gabriel over Lacazette.
Okay. Let's move on to Brighton. Brighton defense plus 2.9 versus Burnley at home and plus 3 versus Villa.
They're
What do you
playing
think?
Villa. Yeah, so
That surprised me. That it's pretty high against Villa.
It is, isn't it? The problem is, Villa. I thought it was Brighton. Is it
Yeah.
Brighton Burnley we're talking about, right? So yeah.
Brighton, Burnley, and then
And
Villa
then
in
they got the
27.
Saka.
Sorry.
Oh, the 27. Sorry, yeah. Because I was going to say that my thinking now is without Dunk in the next game, like I actually worry about them. So I've seen people like starting like a Veltman or a Lamptey or Cucurella ahead of certain players in their attacking team. So like I've seen Morpie benched, for instance, for one of these Brighton defenders, and I'm not actually so convinced. Like that's why I'm buying Weghorst. I think that he's gonna get maybe 1 or 2 goals in this double. So I'm getting him for the 8 points for appearance points,
Hmm.
and then maybe 1 or 2 goals in total across 4 games. Like that would be epic if it happens. And so for me, the Burnley defense is not something I'd be going near because I think they're gonna potentially like be someone who can jump on next week. So I don't like the 2 fixtures now. So I'm talking about Burnley now, but let me finish Brighton first.
Yeah.
I've moved straight because they're both on B. I'm not going through the alphabet A, B, C. Chelsea next. But anyway,
I
so
mean, I think
Brighton, yeah.
Brighton versus Burnley. I mean, with so many other assets, I don't think anyone's buying Brighton right now,
No, but
right?
would you start them over like your Morpay, or would you start them over other assets? Like I've seen people starting them over, say, even a double game weeker. I've seen someone bench like Dennis, a double game weeker for a Brighton defender. Like I don't know if I'd be condoning anything like that.
People have been hurt. That's
Yeah.
They've been hurt by Dennis, so they're getting back at him. But let's move on to Burnley because I'm glad you brought Burnley up there because Burnley they play, where is it? They play Leicester, right? They have a double, right? Brighton and Spurs, which isn't great. Not right. The FDR here shows them kind of all in the negative until Leicester in 27. Palace away, or when Palace plays home, they're a very tough opponent. Burnley could get through Spurs. I think Spurs are just like inconsistent and schizophrenic at this point. Away to Brighton is a tough fixture. Away to Palace is a tough fixture. So it's a bit of a mixed bag in this double for Burnley, don't you think?
Yeah, so for me, that's what I mean. Like, I was going to get a Pope because something like De Gea to Pope meant I'd get 4 fixtures instead of 2. I wouldn't have to worry about Ramsdale missing 27. I wouldn't have to ride Ramsdale and De Gea and have 10 million in my goalkeeper position. But the reality is, I don't want Pope. That's what I've come to the realization. I just don't want him. I want Ramsdale. Ramsdale's the guy. I've had enough. I want my keeper pick to be done for the rest of the season. And, I like our fixtures, and we've got a couple to reschedule that are a bit difficult. But apart from that kind of Tottenham away, and I think we've got Liverpool in the league and Chelsea as well, bar those 3 games, I like the rest of our fixtures, like all the way to game week 38. I'm talking about a double maybe in 28. So to have the double now, which I think is one of the best defensive doubles for Arsenal, it has to be Ramsdale. Now, Burnley, I would be looking at Tarkowski. So that's something I do like. I had been reading, I think, that their opponents actually in this double, the first one, they are kind of very low, let's just say. They are bottom for like most, they've conceded the most goals from set pieces, essentially. And the problem is, though, Burnley aren't that great. So Burnley have created the least chances. Burnley have created the least chances from set pieces. So it's like, I think with Burnley, what you got to think about is like, what you're getting. So like, you're buying them for appearance points, is what Tom was saying on WGTA. And like, that is it. Like, you are buying them for the 8 points probably across 4 games in 2 weeks. Like, anything on top is a bonus. So therefore, Pope is an inferior pick, I think, for Ramsdale for that reason. And on top of it, Tarkowski, yeah, it's an exciting pick. But, you'd only get him if you think he's going to get a goal this week because of the set piece fragilities of his opponents. However, I'd rather get Weghorst for that, simple enough. So from Burnley, I think Weghorst or Cornet this week, that could be a nice pick. Is a bit of a punt. But equally, next week you might get one of their defenders when there's a blank and to help you cover your bench and hope that they play in 30 so that you can kind of avoid that free hit. Because then you'll have 2 of them, right? Tarkowski next week, Weghorst this week, get Broher eventually as well, and then bang, hopefully you got 7 players for game week 30, no free hit needed.
Yeah, and then that, yeah, exactly, for that crap game week. And then that would be, that again, bringing context in and planning. I think that planning is so important. We went from a time of it's impossible to plan to a time where it's absolutely necessary to plan, which is pretty funny. So I have Cornet, and I'm really happy to own him, despite the fact that he does get moved around based on how Burnley set up. He will get moved back into the wing, and if Jay Rodriguez could be up front with Wout Weghorst again. But if we're looking at the matchups here for Burnley, with Dunk out, could Weghorst do something against Brighton there in the center? Maybe if he's playing against replacement talent. I like Weghorst's matchup against those Spurs center backs who are just, I'm sorry, they're bad. Like, every single one of them.
Have you seen their manager? Every interview he comes out and it's like he's setting expectation that like it's not me, it's them. It's not me, it's them. Like,
I mean, I think Conte's latest comment was that they keep buying players that are good players, but they're all projects, and none of the players they're buying are like players that are ready to play.
Win,
so I like that. I like that matchup for Wout against Spurs. Palace away could probably be tricky. That's a tough place to play. And then Leicester's just a brilliant matchup. So I think
that's a brilliant game.
Really nice matchup for him. So I would go against the FDR a little bit because of the specific matchups on the field.
So we're picking Weghorst, not Burnley. Like, we're not looking at Burnley's numbers.
Exactly.
We're thinking of Weghorst as a player. On individual caliber alone, we're going to pick him, and for fixtures helps.
Exactly, and I think it's because of the individual matchups rather than what we're seeing here with the FDRs. It's a team matchup. Exactly. So yeah, I think moving on from Burnley, I mean, Liverpool, we will mention them because they are obvious. So
I think everyone has Trent. If you don't, that's probably one of the priorities, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have Salah, like, I know one guy going against him that I speak to, no one else I know, and I speak to a lot of FPL managers, no one else doesn't have Salah or isn't going to buy him.
Yeah.
So then that leaves one slot, right? And I guess that's the debate. Is it Firmino versus Robertson? Is what
I think with we'll get there with NetxG. There's a whole Liverpool analysis when we get to NetxG. So I want to cover that there. Next, we have Spurs attack, which is here interesting. 0.8 attack against City. They could nick a goal here. And then obviously 2.1 against Burnley and 3 against Leeds, just getting better and better as 26 and 7 and 27 progress. Nima, do you have any Spurs attackers?
So Ronaldo, who I'm selling, I had looked at Kane, but my issue was I couldn't afford Ronaldo to Kane and my 3.9 million keeper to Ramsdale. I'd have to do David De Gea to Ramsdale and ride with no goalkeeper next week. But now that I've seen Weghorst is fit, I'm actually preferring to get Weghorst over Kane, and this is why everything is so team specific. And
Mm-hmm.
the other side of the equation is before I wasn't willing to sell Jota, Bowen, or Foden. Now, because I might have had to sell Jota next week anyway in 27 because I'm not free hitting, if it is true, if I see, like stuff I actually trust by deadline that says he's out for 2 weeks, will miss the double,
Mm-hmm.
then I will sell Jota now. And suddenly Jota can become Son. So I've seen people talk about like Jota to Zaha, Jota
Mm.
to obviously Saka or any Arsenal midfielder if they don't have one. But for me, I don't think I'd be looking about Zaha and Elise. And people ask about, can we talk about Palace later? Like, I'd be trying to get to Son and I'd be dodging Kane because that 2 million saved allows me to kind of get Ramsdale, Son, and Weghorst and
Mm-hmm.
have 2.5 million in the bank. So it's like, and
Mm-hmm.
then what can I do next? And then there's King is going to become Brohurst. That's another downgrade. So I'm going to have even more money left. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, Son is exciting. He doesn't screw up my budget and leaves me flexible as we get closer to 30. So I'd like Son. I think he's been consistently doing well all season, actually. Um,
Yeah.
Kane is doing much better in the last 6 weeks when you look at his data, obviously. But for me, like I was set on Kane because it was easy to do Ronaldo to Kane. But that kind of Weghorst info, 4 games, it just is so exciting for me. And I know that Spurs have that fixture in 27 as well against Leeds, I believe. So I don't think I can go into that without one of them. And originally I was thinking of Jota to Son in 27, but like why not bring that forward and get 3 fixtures out of Son? That's
I
my thinking here. Like I feel like they're a good pick. Like one of their attackers is probably enough. I wouldn't get to maybe not even on free hit.
yeah, I agree with you, and I think I think Son is the obvious pick. Harry Kane has the same amount of fantasy points this season as Eric Dyer. Heung-min Son has 47 more fantasy points than Harry Kane this season and is 2 million cheaper.
Yeah.
I think the choice is quite obvious if you're looking at the stats. Now if you're looking if you are relying more on the eye test, I think then it becomes more of a conversation because we can see that Kane's role has changed. He's getting more involved. So if you're looking for trends and you want to sing that song to hark back to the philosophy, then that's a song you can certainly sing, but why pay more for less, I think is
Yeah,
our
that's what
message
I'm
here,
thinking.
right? Yeah. um and then I think the last one I want to mention here is Wolves. Wolves obviously have a brilliant matchup against Leicester, then a tough matchup away to Arsenal. We all know Arsenal at home have been really fantastic this season. It's their away form that hasn't been as good, and then they go away again to West Ham, which isn't great, isn't terrible, but isn't great. But it's also away. So I know some people are thinking about Jimenez. How do you feel about Jimenez?
I was looking at him, but I just think Weghorst is cheaper. And I know people are saying in the chat, like, is Burnley double game week what for get double game week 2.0 and stuff? Like, yeah, probably. But the thing is, with Burnley, you know what you're getting. With Watford and other teams, again, we believe they were some attacking team. They're not. They've had like a couple of goals in 7 games. And there was a period where they were flying King and Dennis. But yeah, that was kind of overperformance, I guess.
Hmm.
And Burnley, we're not buying them because we think they're like amazing. We're literally buying them for 8 points over 2 weeks, including a blank next week. And they might play in 30. So it's like there's just so much benefit to it for me. They're so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Not Pope, Tarkovsky specifically, and well, Weghorst, he's cheap. So for me, Jimenez is great. But the reason I bring back Burnley is in the context of that, I would only get Jimenez on top of Weghorst. So if I was getting both, and for me, it's actually a debate of Jimenez versus Lacazette, who people are saying they like Mariner's choice of him. So for me, if we're talking about Jimenez, I feel like he's the secondary player. You'd be prioritizing like a Weghorst or a Kane, I think. So you're either getting a Son and a Weghorst or a Kane and something else.
Mm.
There's something else we'll come to. But yeah, essentially, Wolves for me, I like if you want to get a defender from there now. So this week you could get like a Kilman or even a Sice. You know, Ait Nouri, I'm more worried about his position and his kind of guarantees for starting since Johnny's return. But Wolves' defense is another great pick. I think this week the best defenses, even though there's that tough game for Wolves against Arsenal, they are really going to be Liverpool, Arsenal, and Wolves. I think those three have the best kind of defensive fixtures this week for me personally,
Mm.
and therefore a Wolves defender I like. I don't think they've only conceded, what is it, 17 league goals now. Equally, they've probably only scored just as many, so they don't score much. If you're getting Jimenez for more than Weghorst by 1 million, I'm not convinced that's the move for me. But he's scored like a few goals in the last four. He looks to be back a bit, but Wolves don't score much, and it's again you're getting your hopes up. You're paying for Jimenez thinking he's going to be this free scoring team, just like we did with the Watford strikers. But their style of play, they're not going to do that, and actually their defenders are probably more valuable.
I mean, if you're, I still think that if you're trying to, I agree that it's kind of like a Jimenez versus Lacazette conversation. And if you're having that conversation, that's like, what do you prefer, the firing squad or the gas chamber? Like
Yeah.
both choices are terrible.
Yeah, that's why I'd be going for Weghorst or Kane.
Exactly.
Or even Broja. I'd just go
Even
to him
Broja,
despite him
yep.
having a double. Just go straight there.
And we see, Jimenez has one good fixture, and then the rest are tough, right? Arsenal
I guess
away
he
is
plays
hard.
in 30 as well. That's the problem. So it is a nice pick in that regard, but
yeah. So I think we both think that the upside is quite limited here with Jimenez. All right. The other thing, there was a note here on, I think someone put in the chat. Will Wood, welcome, Will Wood. He says VVD nailed for 180, big aerial threat. Norwich and Leeds both vulnerable from set pieces, and I think that's a good point. Nima, I don't know am I correct that I think there's somebody in the FPL community that's going with 3 Liverpool defenders.
that would be quite exciting. Yeah, there's a few people who are very maverick like that on there.
But I would say, instead of, if you're thinking like that, or you want to go with maybe you don't want to go with Robertson, maybe you don't want to pay that extra premium for Robertson, I would actually recommend Matip over Van Dijk. Matip has the most headed attempts from set plays this season in the division. He has 20 all season. Now, he hasn't scored from any of them, but he's only
He's due.
He's due, exactly. but he's only 4.9 million. The last 4 he started looks like 10 of the last 11. So he seems pretty nailed. He's playing well. He's getting in positions. He hasn't converted, but I think that could be a really sneaky way to double up on Liverpool defense.
I do like the idea of that. Robertson, I guess, just one thing worth noting is he has been kind of doing really well recently, and I do think he could probably get more points than Trent if he played all the minutes of the doubles. But there's a lot of fear of, will he be like rested that last game before the cup final? And Tsimikas has shown he's like capable cover, whereas like Trent doesn't have that cover. So I do think it's viable to get the double up. And maybe if you don't already own Robertson, maybe you're thinking, actually, when I move on Jota for someone else, I'll get someone that isn't Robertson. I'll get Matip.
So let's talk about that, the potential for Robertson to be rested. When was the last time he was rested?
Well, the thing is, he never had a good backup till now. So Liverpool have shown
he's had a good backup all season.
Well, and at the start, he wasn't getting in the team, so he came back, but he wasn't playing well. And that's my worry, is like, if you've got, say, 4 games he's now got in literally less than like 2 weeks, that's going to be intense for him, especially when some of these are big games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to push back a little bit. Robertson didn't start the first 2 matches because of rest from the Euros, right?
Yeah.
Then he came back and he started. He missed the match against Palace. I think he was injured, and that's when Tsimikas came in, right? And he started every other match except for one that he got a red. Yeah, he got a red card, right?
He got the red, yeah.
And so he missed Gameweek 12. No, sorry, he missed the 2 game weeks where he got a red card. So I think he was rested 1 game week back in Gameweek 12. Like, Robertson's not a player that gets rested. Just because Tsimikas is there and he's a capable backup doesn't mean that he's going to get rested. He hasn't really been rested all season. So
it is true, and Robson is in better form now. So that's the thing I was saying about that comment, is earlier in the season, obviously Tsimikas looked much better than him for a while when he did get his chances to play in those few games, as you say. Whereas now Robertson has been playing out of his skin. So, what is the chance? Like, imagine City slip up if Spurs beat them this weekend, and then suddenly Liverpool think they've got this chance to like get on a title challenge. And is he going to rest them over the cup final? Like, I know he wants a cup, but
I don't
Historically,
see any of these players being rested, honestly.
okay, so we're worrying too much about Salah being rested, you think? Does that mean that on that topic, we'll get to the captaincy metrics soon enough,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming that triple captaincy is locked in then. You're not worried about his minutes.
I'm not worried. No, I'm not worried about Salah's minutes. I'm not worried about Trent's minutes. I'm not worried
Robertson,
about
yeah.
Robert's minutes. I would only be worried about Jota. Obviously, he's injured. Mane, Luis Diaz. You know, kind of the attacking players, the that are the relevant attacking players. I would only be
No,
worried mainly about
Fabinho. Is that how you're
Fabinho
clarifying?
nailed. Fabinho nailed it. Fabinho's going to score against Leeds. James at Planet FPL was saying, and I loved this insight about he was talking about the late runners against Leeds, and how kind of a deep lying central midfielders seem to score a lot against Leeds. So I think
You've already accepted your fate.
I've accepted it. I'm with Gerard. Go Fabinho. I'm not getting Fabinho though. Shall we move on to the longer range FDRs to game week 32?
We didn't talk about Watford, but their double isn't something you'd be targeting to buy players. Like, it's the reason you've kept them and you're bloody wishing it would be over so you can sell them soon. Yeah, don't sell now, but like sell soon. Yeah, I sold for Morpie last week. I'm happy with that decision, but I wouldn't be selling now this week.
So we have here, this is the longer range, the FDR longer range to game week 32. We have, let's see, in attack, we have Arsenal. So this is added up. I think our Mariner added them up here in the right in the columns to the right. So there's one, let's say 28 to 32 with no free hit, 28 to 32 with free hit and 30. Okay, so they're like two different approaches you could take here, and this is what the stats say depending on your approach. If you're free hitting in 30 or not. So in attack we have Arsenal 11.2, Spurs also 11.2, City at 10.6, Liverpool 9.3, Chelsea 7.0, and Leeds at 6.5. Which teams that we haven't talked about stand out to you here? And I think I guess the only ones we really haven't talked about in terms of attack, we haven't talked about City attack, we haven't talked about Chelsea attack, and we haven't talked about Leeds attack really.
Yeah, I think City attack for me is the one that was the first kind of call out, as you say. I've got Foden. I was debating kind of the Foden to Son move, and I decided after the early sub for Foden in the kind of Champions League, that was never going to happen, especially because I'm not free hitting in 27. I think that fixture for City against Everton, it's a great fixture, and free hitters are going to have free City players that week too. So I need to keep whatever City mid I have. Now, the flip side is the City attack specifically, like every week, every match, whether it's Premier League or other cups, a different midfielder seems to haul like crazy. Whether it's Bernardo, Mahrez, Sterling, Foden, there's De Bruyne, there's everyone. So for me, it's a little bit whoever you've got, you stick with. Now, if you weren't free hitting in 27, I do wonder if we're getting a lot of double game week fever this week, and a lot of us are buying these double game week mids like a Zaha, when you could be buying like a Foden or a De Bruyne or a Mahrez, and then they would be for kind of the next two fixtures, especially that Everton game after Tottenham. So I don't know. It depends how well you think Spurs can push them, right? So for me, I think this is a good fixture for them. From what I've seen of Spurs lately, I've got Cancelo. I'm starting him. I wouldn't think about benching him. I think City, in fact, have one of the top clean sheet percentages with the bookies. Like, they are up there as like the second or third best after kind of the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool. So, for me, like, they're actually top 4 defense this week with Wolves, when I was saying. So the reason we've not talked about City is because we focused on the first 3, which were double game week teams. But City's a fantastic team. Like, I wouldn't be going into game week 27 ideally without either the double defense and a mid, or double mid and a defense. I think they're the team you want to own. They're looking to win the title. Like, they're the best team, best players. And I don't know why we always dodge them, because they don't have doubles.
And yeah, someday we'll learn our lesson, right? I think going the double mid and the single defender is probably kind of difficult.
That's a bit attacking,
given the
isn't it?
price points.
I think on a free hit next week, maybe, but not overall.
Yeah, and given the price points and the other options in midfield, yeah, maybe on the free hit, that could be a nice way to really attack that. We have Rubber Ducky saying, forget Chelsea attack. I kind of agree, unless we consider Reece James an attacker as an attacking option, and Reece James is coming back. With Reece James coming back, does that make other attacking options more interesting? I think it's a wait and see for me
I think Reece James, I will 100% be buying him in game week 28 if they
Yeah.
have a double. And I think I'd then be prioritizing maybe free hit 30 because at that point, what's the point? Like, I'll just stumble free 33. I'll use my one free hit 30. I'll get the Arsenal and Chelsea people who are going to double in 28. And that's it. Like, that's good enough for me. I'd rather do that than prioritize Burnley defenders and Wolves defenders and Southampton players if they get a game. And like, that's not who I want to be buying and
Right.
missing out on the points from 28 and 29. So I think Chelsea is actually really interesting how high they were. As you know, especially even in the last slide with just the kind of 26 and 27 in mind. So both long term and short term, Chelsea do look great. I think James is the guy I would want, but Mount is someone else I'm looking at. So once he's back from his injury, like there's a lot of aggressive moves that could be done, including like Mount and James in 28 and then free hit 30. So that's my thinking. That's where I'm at with Chelsea. And there's some bold Lukaku moves. People said on the wire, the boys were talking about buying Lukaku and benching Cancelo. So on that note of talking about both City and Chelsea, I can't see like I would not be doing that. Like I wouldn't be buying Lukaku and benching Cancelo, for instance. So I just couldn't do that. It's not my play.
I think that's an important point when you're buying a player, and it's one of the reasons why I'm more inclined to buy Ramsdale than I am to buy, say, Gabriel or Tierney, because if I buy a field player, I have to bench a decent field option like Cancelo or something like that. Whereas if I buy the goalkeeper, then it's quite simple. I do agree with you. I think you could bench Foden or Diaz this game week. You could against Spurs in favor of a double game week player or something like that. But FPL Dallas was saying here, just to your point, Nima, let me see if I can find his comments. He's saying he thinks for him, City is why he wants to free hit in 27. Sterling and KDB is nice. And I think that's a good point, and a good point to like just showing that game week 27, as far as free hit goes, has much more opportunity than game week 30. A game week 30 free hit could be somewhat limited because of the there's so few games,
The
and
games
the
are
teams
dreadful, yeah.
and the
Like the
games are
teams
off.
that are
Yeah.
confirmed, it's like Arsenal, Villa, I think, and then Wolves against.
There's Arsenal, Villa. Well, Brentford's playing
Yeah,
Leeds,
there's Brentford, Leicester, and Leeds against
and
Wolves, I think. So that's it.
yeah.
Yeah. So those are the three that are confirmed, and then maybe there's about 50% odds they're saying that it will be Burnley and Southampton. Now that would only happen if between game week 27 and 28, you need West Ham to beat Southampton in the FA Cup. So
Mm-hmm.
like that's looking quite likely. Hence, there could be that fourth fixture added of Burnley Southampton. But
Mm-hmm.
really, those three fixtures that are confirmed, they don't scream free hit to me. So I'd rather stumble through if that isn't added. That's what I mean. So my
Yeah.
ideal position is we get to the game week 27 deadline. Um, you know, West Ham knock out Southampton, so we know Burnley and Southampton are playing, and then from there, I'm like, oh, okay, I can either buy the Burnley defenders or Southampton strikers because I know they're playing 30 and I won't free hit, or I can actually be really aggressive and free hit in 30 anyway because now there's a fourth game to attack, so there's more options than free games, and it means that now I can buy James, I can buy
Yeah.
Mount. So that's my thinking. That's what I would really like. I would actually like the game to go ahead for there to be four fixtures to make it a bit more free hit worthy. Now that's me
Mm-hmm.
talking as someone of one free hit. If I had two, I think 27, I'd be going all in. And then I'd
Mm.
decide whether to use the second one in 30 or 33 based on that one cup game I just described. And I think that's similar to what Ben Crennan's thinking as well. So he's
Mm-hmm.
looking at like, can I get free 30? But I've only got one chip, so worst case, I'll just use it. Now,
Mm.
right now, I don't think it's worth it because those three fixtures, we're probably already buying some of their assets now, right? So like, how many
Yeah.
more assets can you gain on the free hit
They're gonna be free
compared to
hitting
the
players like
attacking?
Mbomo.
Yeah,
That
yeah, that's what
doesn't
I mean.
feel
Like, I
good.
don't want those players. Yeah, so
No.
whereas if there's other games added, then I might free hit with two Southampton attackers. If there's Southampton Burnley, for instance, I might get Broher and Armstrong
Yeah.
or someone like that. So
So
JWP, I mean, even so, he's someone who I'd really like to own on a free hit. But no, 2020.
yeah.
So just talking of you talk about City and
Mm-hmm.
buying single game week players, we were saying in kind of double game week territory. What do you think then about kind of West Ham? Because they're a team that we don't actually discuss at all, and they're obviously you know Antonio owners. There might be some of them still out there. Bowen, I assume we're all keeping. I can't imagine anyone would sell him in this current form. Would you condone selling Bowen?
I mean, I wouldn't even condone benching Bowen. You have to start him. He's an every week starter, regardless of matchup in the form that he's in. But with West Ham, I look at the numbers here in the FDR. You know, look at 28 minus 2.8 minus 4.2. That's attack and defense. 29 is 0.9 for attack and 2.7 for defense. Maybe some defensive goodness there. It's a good matchup that week. Then they blank. Then they have another good matchup in 31, and then 32. It's not great. So it's a bit of a mixed bag for West Ham. If we look at the entirety, right? 28 to 32 with no free hit and 28 to 32 with free hit. Those matchups don't scream anything exciting to me for West Ham. So West Ham are not an interesting. I mean, other than outside of Bowen, I think
you wouldn't be buying. Yeah,
would not be buying. There's so many other good assets I think that we need to be thinking of.
You should be sticking to Bowen. That would be the plan. Yeah.
But to get to the defense here for the longer range FDR, and we go back to Chelsea with the combined, what is it, 10.7? Is that right? Chelsea going across. Yeah, there it is for defense, 10.7. We have Wolves much lower at 5.8. Chelsea by far the best in defense. And we have Spurs at 5.5, Arsenal at 5.4, Brighton at 4.6, and then rounding it off with City at 3.6. Given Chelsea's defensive matchups coming up and how good they seem to be, despite that blank in 30, does that strengthen your kind of resolve to get James in as soon as you can?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I have to get the Chelsea defense. It's just like I feel like earlier on in the season, I was late. I didn't have double fullbacks. I didn't have the points in the earlier weeks. I don't think Chelsea's attack is as fluid as it could be. There's a lot of rotation amongst that front three. There's like 6-7 players competing for spots, and so for me, their defense is really where the value is. And I do like the Mount pick just because he's cheaper. That's why I'm not condoning a Lukaku pick just yet. I have to see more. But yeah, no, James, I really like. There was some comments from Dread about like why no love for Alonso. I guess obviously we know Cho was out for quite a while, so he should be nailed too. But for me, it's like Alonso's just I don't want to own him. I can't. Like I've owned him a few times and I can't do it. I know when we last had a show together, you were saying like why sell Alonso, not James? Surely by that logic, sell both kind of thing. Well, it doesn't matter to me. Do you remember? And at this point, I still stand by what I said then, which is just if I was only going to own one of them, it would have to be James for me. I just can't buy it. Or Rudiger. Like I can't buy Alonso as my first and only like Chelsea defense. Just I need X-Mins is something I didn't think about much, and this season more than ever, like I'm trying to use it more as a guiding principle of go for the players for more minutes that are guaranteed, and that's why I was kind of saying Gabriel over Tierney, and I've become a lot more of that mentality now.
That's even more conservative than you were before. That's funny. But back then Alonso was nailed, and since then he's been rotated because he's just been so bad, right? So
that's the thing. He's been bad. Yeah,
he's been bad. Not like he was at the beginning of the season, where he was playing quite well, certainly from an attacking perspective. But now I agree. I think Reece James needs to be on all our radars as soon as right around what is it, 28? I
think 28. That's the week.
I might be going back to 5 at the back. I got 2 City, I got 2 Liverpool defenders, 2 City defenders, and Reece James. I might be parking that bus again. Getting that park the bus award on Playmaker. I have like 6 of them already. But let's move on to the zonals. You ready for some zonals?
Yeah, let's get to the zonals. Yeah.
All right.
I think the defense doesn't need much because we did talk about the defense during the attack.
Yeah.
We just kind of covered each team for both attack and defense when they came up.
That's right. Whoops, that's not where I wanted to go. Here we go. Zonals. I mean, this zonal matchup that for me we have. I'm gonna just rattle off some of them. Like on the good, we have Arsenal central matchup in game week 26 against Brentford. Lacazette's gonna punish me, isn't he?
He's gonna punish him. He's gonna outscore Jimenez. That's what I would say. If you're picking between the two, I would be going for the team, as you say, that it's from the firing range to the gas chamber. I'd be going for the firing range.
Man, I'm gonna protect myself from the troll, and I'm gonna go with Odegaard. That's gonna be my prediction for the person that's gonna haul in this game week. Odegaard's gonna take advantage of that hole right in front of the Brentford back line. Let's see what else is good. We have Aston Villa, so that is Arsenal 3.9 in the center. Aston Villa 3.6 from the left against Watford.
Is that Ramsey position or?
Could be Ramsey coming out of the left side of central midfield, right? It could be. I mean, who else has been out there? Watkins has been put on the left at times. Who else is out there? Villa.
So I'm thinking if someone was buying a Villa mid, so again, that's another thing. Like people are asking about Palace again, and in my personal position, I don't know if I'd just get like a Villa mid now. I'd get like a Coutinho or a Ramsey, and that's who I'd be buying. Watkins, I'm not impressed by. If I had him, it's a hard, reluctant sell, but I'd sell him for Weghorst this week. I'll be honest with you, despite him having the game later on in 30 against Arsenal. I'm not convinced by Watkins right now. I'll tell you that much recently, and he's not looked as good. But I think Coutinho and Ramsey, they're both fantastic, and I would prioritize them as a mid if you were doing a Jota sale, and you aren't just going to buy a double game weeker for the sake of having a double game weeker. Then actually, the Villa mid is who I'd be going to, and they don't blank in 30.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, and either one of those I think is a good asset. I would probably go for Ramsey for the savings, and I'm still not. I don't know. I want to see more longevity, I guess, from Coutinho. I'm waiting for that one to fall. But let's see. Hold on. I had this up here. So Ollie Watkins, yeah, I know everybody's really down on Ollie Watkins now, and rightly so, right? He's been playing a little bit deeper. He's been having to drop into the hole a little bit, and he's not pushing that front line as much. But he is still drifting to the left. It's kind of his natural place, and he is getting touches on that left hand side. So in this matchup, I think Ollie Watkins is going to punish his sellers. And anyone going for Weghorst for the double or someone else, even going to Broya to free up funds, I would beware of selling Ollie Watkins this week because of this matchup on the left hand side. Let's move on to the next one. Brighton home to Burnley has pretty decent matchups all across the board, but I'm not going to spend time talking about Neil.
That's really
I'm not going to spend time talking about Neil Maupay on this, but you bench him. Yeah, I think it's.
I'm benching him either way, regardless of what the data says. I'm benching him.
Exactly. I like this Burnley left-hand side. I like it for Cornet owners at 3.3. Not a crazy good matchup against Brighton, but decent at 3.3, right? Just a little bit lower than Watkins at 3.6 on that left-hand side. Going to skip Chelsea. We have Everton's right-hand side. I'm not going to spend too much time here because it's Everton, but that could be interesting. There could be something developing on that side. But nobody's buying Everton players, obviously, so we're not going to spend time there. Then we get to the obvious, the Greens, Liverpool, City, United. Best matchup this week down the center.
I guess for me, because I'm concerned that Ronaldo will be rested, it's an easy sell still, even with this data. But Bruno, I think that's why I was saying I don't think I'd be selling him in this game. I think it's a great matchup.
Yep, and I'm going to go out on a limb. If you're playing a daily format, I think Pogba.
Yeah, okay.
That late run into the box against Leeds. He was almost the Rumi pick.
Oh wow, okay, I'm excited to see. Yeah,
but this week's Rumi pick is it's a little controversial, so we'll get there shortly. And then the last good matchup we have here is West Ham's left-hand side, 3.8 against Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle's a good matchup, although it's getting worse. Newcastle is playing better. They just lost Trippier though, so we'll see how
that's
that
the thing.
unfolds.
So I've got Dawson, and again, I've decided now that it's not worth me selling him when he's got Newcastle home and Wolves home in 27, so no blank, just to get like Tarkowski for 4 games. Like now's not the week to do that.
Right.
There's just no need.
Right.
Like I expect who I've got to get good points. Like I actually think, West Ham don't keep many clean sheets, but Newcastle with Trippier out, I think that's a big thing. And I wonder if that will stunt their attack a little bit.
Probably. Because a lot has come from Trippier, right? Recently. Okay, cool. So, that was a quick run through the zonals for 26 and 27. Ready for NetxG?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. NetxG. There it is. So we have both. And it says 25. I guess I should have caught that last night, but I guess it was too late last night to catch that. So I've organized it a little bit differently this time. So it is organized from top to bottom to most likely chance of 3 or more goals to least likely chance of 3 or more goals. So we see Liverpool at the top with a 33% chance of 3 or more goals, which is insane. I haven't seen it that high. I don't think all season until we get to the next double that Liverpool have with a 37% chance of 3 or more goals against Leeds. Other highlights here. Let's see. We have Arsenal with 28% chance of 3 or more goals with a NetxG of predicted NetxG of 2.4. Liverpool is 2.5. This is just in the first matchup, mind you. We'll get to the second matchups momentarily. What's interesting here is notice how I want to turn your eyes to the Manchester teams. Manchester City has a NetxG of 1.6, but a chance of 3 or more goals of 21%. Manchester United has a NetxG of 2.37, but a NetxG 3 or more goals of 23%. So the NetxG is quite higher for Manchester United, but the chance of 3 or more goals is almost the same. Just 2% separates them. And this is where I get really excited about NetxG, because as we talk about it in this way, we start to construct a narrative about the teams, right? Manchester United have a great matchup against Leeds versus Manchester City's matchup against Spurs, but the team is not. You can't compare the Manchester United team to the Manchester City team. So a 1.6 NetxG for Manchester City means more, I guess, or means more goals than a 2.37 does for Manchester United in their matchup. And that's really interesting. So almost equal chance of 2 goals and almost equal chance of 3 or more goals. Like the percentages are quite similar across the board, despite the disparity in the NetxG number. So it's important to look at the percentages. And then again, if we're looking at clean sheet percentages,
I was just going to say, Gabe, quickly.
Go ahead.
I think Gaurav got to it in the end himself, but for anyone who is new and hasn't seen NetxG, there is a playlist on the channel homepage for the intro to the metrics. So it's obviously that episode you did about explaining how the metric works. I would definitely go back and listen to that. It's quite a short explainer. But yeah, it does add up to 100, because he was saying that shouldn't the chance of lower goals be higher? But obviously, it's not necessarily looking at the odds of that thing. It's all of it adding up to 100. So
exactly.
I think, but if you go watch the episode, you'll definitely get a more in-depth intro to this.
And I'll explain it really quickly. So NetxG, what it does is it takes we do predictions based on how many shots are taken in a game, and we get the XG per shot and so on and so forth. So the stats, the main stats we use are XG, expected goals on target, or post shot XG, and expected goals prevented. The expected goals prevented is just used to come up with a goalkeeper metric to kind of qualify everything. So we have a pre-shot model, post-shot model, and goalkeeper influence. And then these percentages are calculated through a kind of an economic algorithm in Excel called the binomial distribution formula. And so it's the idea, the vision behind NetxG is where we don't have just a number or just a stat the way XG gives us, right? XG doesn't only tells us kind of the XG tells us there's a lot of stats that go into XG, but it just tells us what one moment is. And so one moment, a singular moment, is not, by definition, does not provide context. So hopefully the idea with NetxG is that it can provide context. If we go across and we, let me do the clean sheets here. So
yeah, that's what the clean sheets, exactly, yeah.
To add, look, Liverpool have a 47% chance of a clean sheet against Norwich. So now we're looking at very strong attack with a 33% chance of 3 or more goals and a 47% chance of a clean sheet. I think the conversation, the Trent versus Salah triple captain conversation starts to get interesting when we're looking at these NetxG numbers. What do you think, Nima?
No, I totally agree. And I think knowing what the pick is going to be later as well for Rumi, I think Trent is probably, like, if I wasn't thinking about EO, like, and seeing how Salah's played since he came back and how many matches he played, I think I would be going for Trent. Like, I'm not going to lie. So, especially with the X-Mins in mind. But I'm an EO bitch, so like Salah all day, and I'm on it. Trent's the vice captain, sure, but like, I think if I was chasing rank, like, I don't think I'd be thinking Dwight. Like Trent is the guy I'd go for. Like he is hands down the one who could recover my season if I was struggling this year.
So let me cement that thinking a little bit for you, and this is where I'd love to get the perspective of the people in the chat, see what they think. So I did a little kind of matchups analysis, Mo versus Trent. So Liverpool have a combined predicted NetxG of 4.58, which is enormous. Whoops.
No, you've gone.
My camera keeps disconnecting, so I apologize for that. I'll try to get it going here again. I see what's going on. So just as I work on this real quick, it's not really working, is it? I'll just keep talking. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Liverpool have a combined NetxG of 4.58. Mo has an expected goal involvement of 20.6% compared to Liverpool's. So the XG that Liverpool has created, Mo has created 20.6% of that, so it's about 1/5. And which is quite high. So if we're thinking Liverpool are going to score 4 or 5 goals, maybe more, Mo should get at least one return, right? So he's nailed for something. We would think. However, then this is where it gets a little bit dicey. Mo Salah has only one double-digit haul since game week 10. Trent has 3 in the games they've both played. Trent has also scored 9 points on 3 occasions, while Mo's highest single-digit return is only 8, which happened 3 times as well. More double-digit returns, higher single-digit returns for Trent, and Trent has outscored Mo 9 times since game week 10. So 9 times in the last 16 game weeks or something like that. So given those numbers, is there an argument other than EO for Salah?
Yeah, because like EO is still just as important a stat, I think, as the numbers and the eye test combined, because if you kind of are doing okay, like, and Salah is capable of, even if he's benched, right, even if he gets no minutes in one of the games, like I'm looking at this Liverpool Leeds game, the second one, and 3+ goals is 37% on the NetxG, and it's the highest chance of there being 3+ goals than anything else. There's only an 11% chance they won't score now. Maybe Mo doesn't play that game, but the fact that then in the second one as well, he's obviously there again. So for me, just even the chance of 120 minutes of Mo against those two teams, we're never going to see that again. And I would 100%, like, I think you get a hat trick in one game or returns in both, and that alone will bury your season. So although I'm saying EO, it's not just EO, it's because we have never seen fixtures like this for a premium attacker like Mo, like ever. Like even the rest of this season, the teams you're kind of seeing around who have a double, like say the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, everyone else, Spurs, the second fixture is always against like a big 6 team. It's not 2 teams like Norwich and Leeds. So in all my years of playing Gabe, like I've never seen like a double game this good for a team that's doing as well as Liverpool are at the moment. And the upside on Salah is it's disgusting. Like I just think of like that one game week where people went Havertz against him and he got the hat trick and an assist, and the chance of more than 90 minutes against these two clubs. And I'm not even convinced he'll be benched, like you were saying earlier. So when you then think if you increase his X mins, if you think that he's going to have a higher X mins, then it's like I think it's crazy to go for Trent despite the previous performance Trent has had, because again, like I don't think it's going to be that easy to always get the clean sheet returns right. I think any club can lose a clean sheet at any moment, and as soon as that happens, you're just relying on the attacking returns. And it's like if I've ripped my team up for Salah and his EO is going to be potentially over 200%, so even a captain would suffer from having him, let alone non-owners or owners. I can't see how a triple captain away from Salah personally. So when I say someone's got to be really back down in rank to do it, I think that's when I'd be like Trent. Now some people think maybe that's boring. They want to be more exciting. I'd also say though that if you were going to bench boost this week, I think you could get the same points as like the Salah triple cap will get. So I don't think it's the worst idea if your team's set up for it. But equally, I don't think there will be a best triple captain week this season or in many seasons to come. And bench boost, if 36 is as big as we think it's going to be, you could get to that without a wild card. Like it will probably be most teams will have a double, and there'll be all the teams we have assets from. So I think that bench boost, even without a wild card to set it up later, that can happen. And I think it would be pushing it a bit to have it now. But fair play if you want to go for it. But for me, it's like, so that was the triple captain versus bench boost discussion. I think it's just triple captain in my eyes. But now Trent and Salah, that is a good debate. That is
going back to that. Why is given the numbers, right, and even the eye test, with Salah looked good the 30 minutes he came in when he came back from AFCON.
When he hit that post,
and maybe in a 30-minute spurt he looks good, but maybe he's not fit to play a full 90. Maybe like this is narrative, right? I have no idea. I'm just throwing that doubt out there, and I wonder. I mean, all the data points to Trent being a better option. So why?
But I think it's the upside. I think it's the upside because I know that even though Trent's
had the upside points to Trent as well. The upside points
of course,
to Trent.
There is, but again, like I think everything is a narrative in FPL. So we've obviously looked at since game week 10. So it's like we're saying, well, since game week 10, like Trent's had this many double-digit hauls more than him, or these 3 9-digit single hauls and versus 8-digit triple times. So I'm like, if you look at the whole season, well, Salah is scoring the most points. Like, so and equally on the fitness side, I think Salah's superhuman. Like, I think he has to be forced to not play. I think he would play if he was allowed. Like, it's on that kind of level. Like, he wants to play every minute of every game. He's like a machine. He's so fit. I think there's probably very few players in world football at his level of fitness and his willingness to play. So for me, if Jota is also going to be confirmed out and Liverpool want to try and mount a title challenge, I do not see in a world where Salah isn't fit enough to play. Like, worst case, I see him being rested in that goddamn cup final. I'll be really honest with you. Like, people think the cup final is this huge deal, and for me, like, I can't go for Trent over Salah. It's like, so it just feels crazy to me. But I can see why you do it for upside or being maverick. But I feel like that's like chasing against the pack and finding data to suit your decision to do it. Whereas for me, it's like, I know people say don't say just Salah because it's Salah, but Salah's numbers, like Liverpool have the highest XG in the league, right? And for me, that opportunity to get 3+ goals just to come out NetxG in both games, that's enough. Like the view I have on his minutes plus the odds for the 3+ goals on NetxG, I just can't imagine what I would do to myself if Salah hauled and I had gone against that. Like I'm so confident.
So I think you just got to the crux of where you're going with Salah. Salah's a FOMO pick. Because you just said, I just don't know what I'll do with myself if I go.
I'll be angry because I know not against the pack, but because I know he's going to get all those goals because Liverpool are going to be the team most likely to get 3+ in both games. So just that alone and the confidence I have in his minutes, I don't see a world in which he doesn't haul. So I'm so confident he's going to haul that I'd be only going against the Salah triple captain pick because of actually trying to go against him, because I'm trying to go away from the masses. I wouldn't be doing it because I thought Trent's going to get more points. Like, there's no world in which I personally.
But I would say you're not going Trent because you're trying to get away from the masses. You're going Salah.
No, other people might not, but I
no. I'm saying in general, people won't going. The reason to go Trent is not to get away from the masses. On the flip side,
it's got to be because you believe you'll outscore Salah.
The reason you go Salah is because you're going with the masses. If you want to go with the numbers, then you have to go Trent. Salah,
I don't think I'd agree because Salah's numbers are incredible,
but they're not as good as Trent, especially
over
the last
FPL points though. In FPL points,
no.
Predictor of future points necessarily.
I understand. No, but I'm basing it on the combination of defensive stats and attacking stats and NetxG and the FDRs that we just saw. I mean, Salah has 25 more points than Trent this season, right? He got 24 points in that one game against United, which speaks to your point. And I mean, that was a long time ago, right? That was game week 9, so a really long time ago.
But that's what I mean. So look at the data started from game week 10.
But let me finish the thought. So that's why you want to go. That's the appeal of Salah, is because that potential hat trick or something like that, the 24
but that's
points,
why I said it's the upside from the start. I don't think Trent has that upside necessarily to get a hat trick of returns.
So to finish that thought, he only has one double-digit haul since that game week 9 where he got the 24. So Trent has more haul potential than Salah, and we'll see when we get to the captaincy metric. I think Salah is
in the captaincy metric, Salah has got way lower haul percentage than Trent for sure.
So
but I think Salah's more likely to get, say, 2 attacking returns, 1 in each. And I think Trent could get like an attacking return and a clean sheet, and then just as easily lose the clean sheet and get nothing in the next game. So for me, it's about upside and ceiling.
Well, painting a picture to fit what you want to do. But what I'm saying is,
yeah, no, I know
like,
what you're saying, but you also excluded Gameweek 9, which is 24 points, right? So you've said
no,
Trent
I
has
didn't
got the better
exclude that.
stats.
That's what I'm saying. That's I
No, no, but
said
now
that's
you have. I
why.
mean, because you said Game Week
All
10
right.
onwards, right? You said Trent has outscored him this and with the data in terms of
But
hauls.
my point, my point is that was a long time ago, and he
It
only
was
has
a long
one
time ago.
double-digit haul since then.
No, that point still stands. Yeah.
While Trent has 3 of them,
But I
right?
think that's a big difference, 1 and 3. Like Trent's played while Salah's been away as well.
So
So I could say
that no,
those two
that's
games
only in the games that they've played
to
together.
get okay. So you
Yeah. So
excluded
I'm
basically.
not
Okay, you're
doing
not
funny
skewing
stats
anything
here.
up.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I'm saying I'm making the point that the data suggests Trent
That Trent is
for
the one
triple
you should be
captain.
going for. But I think that's the thing. But that's if you go with data.
If you're going for Salah, you're going for Salah because of effective
No,
ownership,
but
and
I
that
think
makes
you're going.
sense.
But I think you're also wrong in saying it's just a FOMO or effective ownership pick because it's not against the data. Like, yes, the data says Trent, but what if you're an eye test manager and you believe that Salah will outscore him because he's a better player?
If
That's
you're
what
an
I
eye
mean. So
test
like that,
manager, you'd say Trent as well, though. If you've been
I don't
watching the
know about that,
games,
but I don't know because people
uh,
know what Salah's capable of, and he's just, he's obviously played a lot of minutes, as you say, recently. So maybe he's not at his best quite yet. But
capability is not eye test. If he's not at his best and you are an eye test manager, you see him not in form, so you go Trent.
he just
Like
scored, right? So you could say he just scored and he looked his worst. So if he can score when he looks his worst, what happens if he plays into form in these 2 matches? So,
he blanked in the last game, Hank.
but I think the conclusion, and Amund is right, is that we're saying that they're basically both incredible picks. And I think what it boils down to is you can't actually go wrong with either one. It's like we're almost it's gonna be like the Bruno Ronaldo this week. They ended up being 1 point apart. And I wonder when we'll look back on this, right? And they're like Trent might outscore Salah and it would be like there'll be a few points apart. Because I think overall they're both like incredible picks. And I think you have to have both. You probably have to triple captain one. And I can't see a world where I'd be personally bench boosting this week with that kind of triple captaincy option on the line. Do you want to rattle through any more of the clean sheet or 3+ goals for NetxG before we look at the captaincy? Or
No, I think
straight to captaincy?
we're good to move on. But I think
Okay.
this was
It was a really
I think
good
that
debate. Yeah.
it's a good debate because it really speaks also as to style of manager and what we individually value in FPL.
I
Like the
definitely
thing,
think EO is a
you
big
know.
part of it, as you say, but I wouldn't necessarily say FOMO. So for me, it's not FOMO that other people are like doing it. It's that there's a reason the pack are going that way because we all believe in him so much. But you're right, that's quite speculative. And actually, the data and even the eye test from recent form would suggest Trent is the pick, the superior pick. So
But I
yes,
would even
maybe it is
argue
a
that
bit of
FOMO is a
FOMO.
tool. Like
Mm.
don't be ruled by FOMO, but I think FOMO is a tool, like the way you use it to stick with EO and use
Yeah.
it strategically in a like you mentioned on who got the
Like you don't
assist
have to
in a
use it to
poker
buy a
kind of
bad
sense.
player. Yeah, you don't have to use it to buy.
Exactly.
You use it because you think, well, if Salah hauls, I've got him. If he doesn't haul, well, loads of other people fell with me, and then I'll probably climb elsewhere. So it's all about
Exactly.
where
So
else can I
it's
climb.
strategic. It's strategic FOMO, and that's what I wanted to get to. Like both of the perspectives, while opposite, they both very much make sense, right?
Yeah, and they're
And
both basically taking different varying levels of risk. So like you'd be taking
yep.
the risk against the EO because you're like, well, actually, everything I use to filter my decision making in FPL says Trent's the superior pick. So think how gutted you would be if you didn't captain him, triple captain him, and he was the one who
Exactly. Yeah.
outscored Salah because you knew everything told you to go for him, and this one other decision making point of EO's tricked you into like going elsewhere. So I think that's why I said you should base it on what you really believe is going to be the highest scoring player.
Yes.
Don't just try and like go purely based on EO or stats or any of this data or eye test. Like really ask yourself based on whichever infiltration of data you use, who would you pick? Don't go based on what others are doing. I think that's the worry. I see people changing captain like in the last hour before deadline, 15 minutes before deadline. That's always gone wrong for me. That's my one advice. Make your captain choice, think about it long and hard. But once you decide it, don't make like decisions in the last 15 minutes and
Yeah.
panic and change it. Like it's not the way you want to play FPL. Like you might get lucky sometimes, but that scattergun approach of panic changing captaincy every other week, it doesn't go well. And I've done it many a time.
And this was I gotta say that this was a great debate because it was two sides and both sides really made sense. I hope it was helpful for everyone because I quite enjoyed that, Nima.
Some people have just on that final thought, Gabe. Some people have used triple captain on that, so Bowen or God forbid Dennis as well. So in those scenarios, obviously, I would be looking to either bench boost or free hit this week. I think, especially if I had 2 free hits. So that's another thing to think about. Obviously, if you didn't have a triple captain, then it's not so obvious that this is the week to do it because you can't do it even if you wanted to, right?
Right.
Awesome. So I think,
All
let's
right.
go to the captaincy metric. And when we're there, we can also answer the double Liverpool question.
We'll
when
hit
we
the
get
Rumi pick first.
Oh, so yeah, the Rumi pick and then captaincy. That's good.
There he is. So the Rumi pick this week is Trent Alexander-Arnold. And Rumi's quote is, "Forget safety. Live where you fear to live." I'm triple captaining Trent.
You are going to do it. Yes, I
I'm
think
going to do it.
Tom and Anthony are both doing it as well, I think. And
Yeah.
there'll definitely be a lot of fellow Trent captains. And I've seen talks of Robertson. I think that's just thinking too hard. And I think even though we said Tsimikas wasn't necessarily a threat, just the fact that he exists when Trent is there, and we talked about all this stuff about Trent so far, I think Trent is the guy I'd be going for if I was going for Salah, not Robertson, just to put that one to bed.
Yeah, and I'm ranked, I don't know, I haven't even checked recently, somewhere around 60K, 70K. So I'm not really chasing. I'm in a good position.
It's true, yeah.
I'm going against the EO, and I'm a little afraid. I'm not gonna lie. Salah gets a couple pens. I'm gonna
It could be so
kick
lucky.
myself.
He might miss a pen. He might get a red card.
Exactly. But this is it's going to be an exciting game week for anybody not triple captaining Salah or bench boosting.
I think just a good
I'll be one
point
of
on
those.
that as well is Trent's very close to 100% most weeks. So you would imagine with captains and triple captains, he will be quite high. Like he might be higher than we've seen. Like he'll be like maybe potentially 125 to 150%. I don't think he'll quite hit 200% just because Salah will sweep up past 200. But equally, then I think Salah will be below. There's a chance he'll be below 225%, which would then mean that his points for his owners would actually be differential points, who are as it is triple captainers. So there is that side of it where, like, I think you can't just necessarily think that you're not going to gain on Salah. So I think a lot of people are also telling me like you'll gain nothing from Salah, but you'll gain lots from Trent. I think you'll gain lots from both. Yeah, you might gain, let's say, 150 out of 300% of the EO and Trent, but with Salah, it might be okay. You get 300% instead of 225%.
And
So
the extra you gain on Trent, well, you'll lose that much on Salah.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean. So overall, I think whichever way you go, I do think they're actually going to end up just being pretty simple and adding up to like whichever way you went, you might be 5-6 points worse off, and that's not going to be season defining. I think what will be is going for Robertson, and then he gets benched for Tsimikas in the second game. But no, jokes aside, Trent is definitely a very exciting pick, and I think if I was going to throw safety aside, I would just go straight to him. Like I wouldn't even question it.
Yeah.
But I can't live by my fellow Persian brothers' words this week.
It's not how you play the game, my friend.
No, never that. I did FPLreview.com. We did the template rating, and not template. It was like risk rating, and I think mine was like 10% or below. And I think most of that came this week because I had Ronaldo captain instead of Bruno. So I had like a moderately differential team, 66% or something. It's the lowest it's ever been on live FPL. It's always very template, let alone moderately differential. So yeah, I think my risk rating is somewhere between 0 and 10%. And I've seen other FPL managers put their ID. I'd love to see yours on that review and just see what it says, because some people I know they're like 50, 60, 70% risk level, and like I compare their style to mine, and it is very different, as you say.
I'll have to go check that out. Okay. Do you have access to the All About FPL video?
Yeah, I'll pop that on.
Let's
take
do our strategic partnership and take a short breather.
Yeah.
Are you craving more FPL content? Then look no further than allaboutfpl.com. Head over there for weekly articles from some of the top content creators on the planet. So what are you waiting for? Head over to allaboutfpl.com, the website for all your FPL needs.
Yeah, awesome. So Captaincy Metric, we've got Diego on the screen at the moment. We're at 79% for the season, obviously. So it's been going well. But as we said, there has been a lot of Salah permacap, and we didn't have to think till more recent weeks. And it's been more exciting that people have had to make new decisions. So going into kind of double game 26, I imagine people won't be surprised to see the Liverpool players are kind of leading the pack. But there are some other interesting assets in there that people are considering benching. And I'm seeing them pretty high up this table. One of them we're talking about selling, Antonio, isn't it? So at the moment we have Salah. He is up there, but as you say, his Haul percentage is only 8%. to Trent 17% or Robertson's 42%. So I can see why the Robertson triple captainers are asking, but those minutes worry me. I know they don't worry you as much, but it just worries me a little bit because I think that game with Leeds, they're going to be running full throttle, and what better way to arrest Robertson? Now, in terms of kind of Salah or Jota obviously now this is a bit of redundant data point if he is indeed out for 2 weeks. So that kind of questions, do you move to Mane? I think because he's also here in the top 5 or 6. So a lot of people have thought about, if I have Jota, do I just go to Mane if I've got the funds? Is that something you would condone? He is up here as well, and he has very low haul percentage, 8% like Salah. But what do you think? Because his return percentage is quite low, isn't it, compared to the rest of them in that list?
I mean, let's see. Mane, low haul percentage, high rotation risk.
Especially now with Diaz, yeah.
Yep.
I think I wouldn't be looking to move that way. What about Firmino? Because he's also here and he has an even lower return percentage than Mane. But is he an option? Some people are moving Ronaldo to a Firmino. Is that something you would think about?
I mean, it just shows how desperate we are for forwards. Like, there's just nothing out there. We're considering Laka, we're considering Firmino. It wouldn't be for me. It's too much money, and his role is too unpredictable for my liking. He could be dropping deep, he could be supplying people, he could be assisting the assister. He might not even be at the tip there. So Firmino's not. I would go to other options, like if we're looking right below him, Son. Firmino's a little bit cheaper, but I would rather get the extra 2 and go for Son, thinking more long term. I mean, for me, the Liverpool assets are Salah and Trent, obvious, and after that, it's like it depends, team dependence.
It's tough for me, right? Because I'm going to sell
that.
Jota probably, and that means I'm probably not going to buy that next Liverpool player because yes, I could get Robertson, but if I'm saying I have fears of minutes, am I going to get Robertson, or am I just going to leave Dawson and play Dawson against Newcastle this week, Wolves next week when he doesn't blank? So that's 2 fixtures to Robertson's 2 this week, maybe 1, and on top of it, I then can't get Ramsdale. So I'd prioritize, as you say, the goalkeeper to Ramsdale, play Dawson. And then that means my only other option is Jota to Firmino or Jota to Mane. And neither of those picks excite me. Like, I'd rather get Weghorst, Jimenez, Laka, Broha. There's so many strikers I'd rather get over Firmino personally. And ahead of Mane, I'd rather get Son. So I think it's a no-brainer for me, to be honest. I think it's Salah, Trent, and Robertson, Van Dijk, Matip. Those are kind of the players I'm looking at. Dread had asked, haven't we been dreaming of a double game week like this for attackers for years? I think that was based more on the captaincy between Salah and Trent. So I agree there. But then Robert Ucky made a really nice point as well, which is that statistically it would be easier to kind of keep a clean sheet, as you say, in those 2 games than it is for Salah to score. But that ceiling Salah could have, that is where the fear factor kind of comes in. So perhaps actually that fear factor isn't even just like based on the ownership, but just the fear factor of like, what happens? Like, if I'm watching this game, every time Liverpool are being defensive, I'm going to be hiding behind my sofa, and each time Salah goes forward, I'm going to be shitting it. And I don't know, like, I don't know what you triple captainers are going to be doing, but do message me after and let me know. Will you watch those 2 games, or will you just kind of check the notifications after? Because I'm intrigued to know like how your heart can keep up with that. Like, that might shave a whole year from my life expectancy. That triple captaincy choice and having to be subject to watching it. My lord.
So really quickly for the podcast listeners, the captaincy metric, we have Salah top with at 163. Then Jota comes in injured at 151, so we can probably remove him. But keep an eye on him. We haven't had any reliable reports on Jota yet, as far as I know. It's when we started the show. Trent coming in at 3rd at 135. Robertson 132. Mane 126 for Firmino. So obviously it's littered with Liverpool players. And then the first non-Liverpool player on the list is Son. Which is interesting because they play
Kane
City
with him, and
then Kane right with him. But
that's
they're well
you
below.
need one of the 2, but I do think you therefore need one of the 2, and I don't think even on free hit I'd get both, as I was saying. So I think one of the 2 easy for me. Bowen you have to play, as you say, but then Lacazette is there. He's sneaking in. Saka's there again. The City boys are there, as you say, and Fernandes. Really, after that, it becomes just kind of King and Dennis. God forbid I mentioned them somehow ahead of Cancelo, but really it shows that these are players to think about. I think the captaincy metric, I love it because even though some of these players like Son and Kane are lower, as you say, even if you don't intend on captaining them, at least this metric will help us know how great a pick they could still be for this week. And maybe you do still want to use them as your target transfer. So I would be prioritizing picks on this list. And again, this kind of shows that those defender moves, bringing in like a Burnley or Wolves or Arsenal defender for one of your defenders that plays anyway for a hit, that does not seem much upside to me, to be perfectly honest. At least just get like the goalkeeper, get a Ramsdale or Pope, and use the rest of your moves for these midfielders and attackers for this double game. We can attack it. That's my thinking on Jota as well, just to say, because he is second, as you said, it was significantly higher than Trent on this at 151, much closer to Salah. We don't even know if he's really out. So obviously he's had a scan today. The results haven't come back. The preliminary fears were that he's going to be out for 2 weeks, but that's from a Twitter account that like makes memes for a living. They're not a credible source. And now people in the chat are also saying that, equally, like people are now saying those rumors were false. So for all we know, like he could just very well play and get a brace. And he's doing very well in the metric. So as an owner of his, I hope I can go into the double game week with him. But if he's out, then sure, I'll get Son. That's my thinking anyway. But yeah, I think that's kind of captaincy. So should we go to some of the questions from Twitter, or is there anything else you want to add on the captaincy?
Well, just really quickly, Podna says Bowen form is way too low on this chart, and Bowen's form is listed at 5.5. The reason it looks low and it's shaded in pink there is because of the double game weekers, and so that form is probably, I'm assuming Mariner added the 2 games together or added it together when
higher,
yeah, they're about double. So if you half them,
everyone above him, then he's quite high. Yeah.
Then it's actually 5.5 is decent form. So just to address that one, let's see.
Good point. Yeah.
Throw questions, right?
Yeah. So I'll just read out a few of them. I thought the ones that came through on Twitter earlier. I thought that'd be a good idea. And then from there, we'll take some live ones. So get your questions in, guys. We're at 1 hour 35 already, so probably wrap up in the next 10 minutes. We'll start with the Twitter questions, but any questions that weren't answered throughout the course of the show today, ask in the chat and we'll get them up on screen shortly and we can talk through them. In the meantime, though, please do hit like if you are new, if you've not seen us before, subscribe. Keep in touch with the channel. As we said, we've got the memberships now. And thank you, Robbie, for being the first hauler to get involved and help grow the channel for exciting things to come. But in the meantime, I'm just getting a quick Twitter question up while the questions come in.
Okay.
Let's see what we can find. There's some good ones. So some of them we have answered, but this one is from at FPL Smell. FPL, what's that smell? Hey lads, is DCL to Jimenez worth a hit? So we kind of glossed over Everton earlier in the show. I think we do quick fire answers on these. I did insult the Wolves attack a bit. If you go back, you'll see that part. But either way, I think I would probably just do it. The fact that Jimenez plays in 30, plays in 27, he does have the double. I don't care if Wolves don't score many goals. And, we're all jumping on Weghorst because he has a 4th fixture to Jimenez is free in the next 2 weeks. But Wolves and Burnley are both bad attacking teams, really, this season. So, there's nothing wrong with Jimenez, but I think what we said before was I'd prioritize Weghorst because of the extra fixture, get those 8 appearance points, and then Jimenez is someone I'd look at next. So FPL Smell, if you're doing DCL to Jimenez, I would probably look at Weghorst first. But again, Jimenez is it's an okay alternative. If you're going to get to Jimenez, I'd personally probably go for Lacazette if you can get through 27. I think this is what's so difficult without seeing your teams, guys. The info we give is like 5 different answers based on where you're at. I'll give you the next question. So this is from Ignatius Brian. So he says Robbo or Firmino to be the Jota replacement. We talked about this a lot. I guess you can go back and listen, but do you want to give a quick just answer in your opinion?
Yeah, given the clean sheet percentages and actually Robertson, we see his haul percentage there as well. I think it's easy Robertson for me. I know a lot of people are shying away from that double Liverpool defense, but I'm on it and I'm happy about it. So I say Robertson.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree. I'd go for Robertson too. So we've got Johnny Kerr 70. He's asking, would you favor triple captain Salah or free hit? He does have 2 free hits left. The Jota injury concerns him. So I think that's a really interesting one because not many people I've spoken to are free hitting this week. But if you had 2 of them, I would be probably looking to actually do that. If you think that you can get through 27 and 30 potentially without using one of the 2, this is a prime week to use it. Why not? If you can get, but the other thing is I wouldn't get 11 double game weekers, so I wouldn't be skipping the likes of kind of Bow and Cancelo. I'd still have them. I'd still play them. And the City mid. So I would want all of those players in my team this week, despite the single.
I might forego the City mid, but Cancelo
hit,
on a free hit, yeah.
You can forego, but I think it's still Cancelo. I would at the very minimum have
for sure, and Bowen, sure.
I think in that regard, though, like I can see future weeks where free hit could be useful. They aren't going to be as like triple captain is an easy chip to get off. Don't get me wrong, but triple captain is never going to cost you like points. You might free hit in a week, and the team you free hit out of outscores your free hit team. So for me, I like to use free hits generally when there's like a blank or if I don't have any doublers at all for a double. So depending on how many you've got, if you can get to kind of, I'd say anywhere from 6 to 8 double game weekers this week, I wouldn't necessarily use the free hit because, as I said, there's 2, 3, 4 single game weekers I'd happily play ahead of the double game week counterparts. So I would be triple captaining unless like you got 1 double game week, then yeah, free hit if you've got 2, and that's a good option. So that's kind of those questions. I'm just checking if there's any last ones. So those are the ones from my account. I'm seeing if there's any on the NetxG Twitter as well. No, it looks like that's all good. So we'll take some of the live questions you've put in before we wrap up. So do you want to start with Gaurav?
Sure.
So Gaurav, he asked, if Jota is not out, do we sell Fernandes or Foden? I'm assuming that would be for Salah. If it's not for Salah, then I would sell neither. If you had to sell one of the two, like this is like firstly, I assume you don't have another Liverpool player already because you were previously doing Jota to Salah. Am I right? So if that's the case, that means maybe if you have Robbo and Trent, you can't kind of get Salah if you also keep Jota. So I'm just trying to figure out, are you getting Salah? Do you already have him? But if it is Fernandes, I know I said he's going to be great and this fixture's prime time, but Salah's the one person I could sell Fernandes for this week. Like if you had a De Bruyne, maybe you'd sell him, but Fernandes, as much as I like him and I would start him this week if I owned him, I think if he's your only option to Salah, I would go for it. I wouldn't sell Fernandes or Foden for anyone else this week, personally.
I agree with everything you said, except I would sell Foden over Fernandes for this week because of the Leeds' susceptibility to that.
Well, especially if they're and there's the difficulty as well, especially where if he is free hitting in 27, then you've still got like the City coverage in that Everton game. So it's just so frustrating. Like it's impossible to know like what is a good answer for one team versus a bad answer for that team.
Yeah.
So Gabe Nima from St. Kalp, got 2 more to go. So would you keep Bruno or Bowen in order to get Saka this week? That's a tough one because I feel like Saka's one of the picks of the week, but then he blanks next week. He might have a double again and he plays in 30. I would be looking to get Saka in, but it's kind of like, what are you going to do with that Bruno money? Because I think Bruno's a great pick in this one fixture. And if you're going to do Bruno to Saka, like, what are you doing? Like, who else are you buying? Like, do you already have Salah? Are you buying Kane up front for like a bad striker? Like, let us know what you're thinking of, Sankalp, or tweet us if you're not on at this moment. Because, yeah, I'm not sure I would sell Bowen in that situation either. Equally, you did say the fixtures turn for West Ham. So as good as Bowen is, as good as these fixtures might be this week, Newcastle have looked better despite the lack of Trippier. If you really want to take a punt and go against West Ham in the next few weeks and months, Bowen to Saka could pay off, sure. But I would be looking to do neither of them really, unless you're doing something with that Fernandes money, because I can't see how you'd go into this double game with like 6 million in your bank.
We all love Saka this game week, right? In the double, but so many of us have good midfields.
That's the thing. You have to rip up your team on a hit just to get another attractive pick. Exactly. Like you can't have them all. Like there's going to be one or two. All of us are going to have to forego 1 or 2 picks that we think are incredible picks this game week, and we just got to accept that, I think, and just have our players who we have now just carry us.
Yeah, I agree. If I was happy with my midfield, I would probably look elsewhere for a transfer. I wouldn't be so focused on Saka and saying I have to bring Saka in to get getting rid of a good asset.
Now, if he has no Arsenal coverage and he wants to get an Arsenal defender, for instance, or Ramsdale, maybe that's how you get a piece of the Arsenal pie to feel less hurt if Saka hauls. So I still think that defensively is a great game week for Arsenal. So I'd actually prioritize like a double Arsenal defense first. But one from FPL Escapades, so another friends of the show. So they got no Arsenal players and a free Liverpool slot at the moment. They got Salah and Trent already. Should have free hit in 26. And can I cover Salah's 20 to 25 points by getting lots more doublers? I think if you already have Salah and Trent this week, so you're not doing surgery to buy Salah, and you've got that extra slot, and you got no Arsenal players. Like, I don't know. Like, you could free hit with 3 Arsenal, bring in that third Liverpool. That's already 4 transfers, right? So that's like a minus 12 right there that you're saving on. But the question is, like, would you be able to just use like a -4 or a -8 and get a team that's going to really set you up well? And could you like buy those Arsenal players now and free hit in 27 instead? Like, that's my thinking, because in 27 you could get like Spurs attackers, you could get City attackers, you can get United attackers against Watford. There's some good matches there in 27. You got Southampton against Norwich as well. So I still think the 27 upside is much better, especially because of the players that you could just get in this week. I don't think I'd free hit, and I would probably triple captain Salah or Trent still in your situation and just use your -4, -8 to get those Arsenal players and that third Liverpool player, because then you can free hit them out anyway, right?
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if he has 2 free hits though. He told us he has everything else, but I don't know about his hit situation. Let's take a couple of last questions in the live chat before we go. What's Mariner's spirit animal? So we will ask him this on Saturday live, and I'll try and upload on Twitter a little video of, what do they call them? Vlog or something of Mariner. I'll follow him around in there.
If you have any suggestions, let's throw them in the chat. I'd love to see what would you say it is, Nima?
This is a tough one. I feel like he would like elephants as well, because they're very wise, and like apparently they remember like everyone they meet, and like they're very wise creatures. They're a bit they remind me a bit like the giant turtles. There's something majestic about them and regal. And it's like they're from a time beyond us, and it's like they've got this wiseness we just can't access.
Well, why don't we just say the sea turtle?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's
There we go. Like coasting along on the beach.
Yeah, just chilling, coasting. Right in the stream. You know?
I can imagine him being Dar, and like in Finding Nemo, I'd be like the little turtle who's trying to like run off, and he's like his dad's like hold on, dude. Like, yeah, that's Mario. That's what we're gonna have to recreate that at the meetup. He can be the dad.
The next cartoon blockbuster will be Finding Mariner.
I'm just checking Zofar's pinned tweet about Jota. I think that's the one that probably says the news was fake, maybe.
Okay.
Oh no, this is 6 minutes ago. This one is a reliable source, and it says it looks like Jota will be out for the double. Yeah, so it's from David Maddock from the Mirror. Yeah, it's Daily Mirror Northern football correspondent. Diego Jota out of the weekend game versus Norwich with ankle ligament damage, worse than first thought. Liverpool have not ruled him out of the EFL Cup final versus Chelsea at this stage. He will undergo stringent rehab with physios in attempt to make Wembley showpiece. So it's like they are going to prioritize getting him back for Wembley. Like, sounds like that's pretty credible for me. That whoop whoop. Don't sell Bruno Foden, sell Jota. Jota, he's going. I'm getting Son. My game week plans have been decided with that news. It looks a lot more credible than the banter account that was tweeting it a few hours ago.
Even though they both said the same thing. Well, similar.
Yeah, exactly. But one of them is a journalist and one of them is a meme account.
Exactly.
You never know who to trust here.
Know your source.
Yeah, know your source. And we've seen some fake sources around. Who do we have here? Yeah, so Robbie's also put it in the chat. Yeah, he's facing a fit to be in there. He's wearing a protective boot now. So, yeah, it's looking bad. Is Bruno to Son worth a hit from I think this is FPL Flannel, is it? Nathaniel? I don't think I would do that. I would keep Bruno. What else do we have? Thoughts on keeping Mahrez? Yeah, I would definitely keep Mahrez with knowing Jota's out and move on Jota. I think that's a good idea, Will. Minus 16 is being asked by Suchit. So these are definitely quick fire as we wrap up now. This is definitely, yeah, like I know it can seem sane. It is true. Like, I think someone else did the numbers and they were like, I'll get 11 extra fixtures from my minus 12 or minus 16. And surely my 11 extra fixtures will pay off, like, you know, these points. And it's 11 extra fixtures across the next few weeks. I think that's a very aggressive move. Like, if you've got the gut and to stomach that kind of move and watch it unfold, like, why not? But equally, like, you know, there's not a single player there he's selling that like I would want to keep long term either. So it's like, well, Jota obviously because he's injured, but he's got De Gea there for the listeners on podcast, Livramento, Ben Davies, Ronaldo, and Jota. He's going to bring the likes of Ramsdale, Gabriel, Van Dijk, Broha, and Salah. Like, that all sounds great, but again, you've got to ask the question of who are you benching when you do this? Because I'm pretty confident when you sell someone like, say, Ben Davies here or Livro or David De Gea, maybe there's someone else you're benching that would potentially get points and you don't need to
Right.
take the hit to get the double fixture out of it. So although it might seem sane, it probably seems sane to you because you're not accounting for who you're going to bench when you bring in these players on this huge transfer move. That this
Yeah.
is wildcard territory. I think -12 is the most I could potentially condone to you here. And without knowing who you're benching, it's hard to say which one to not do in this set of moves. I think getting Ramsdale and Gabriel, maybe that's a bit luxury because potentially you could bench Lever and play like a Morpay. Like imagine he's benching Morpay against Burnley to do Lever to Gabriel. Like I wouldn't do that for a hit this week. Like as good as it might look.
I agree. This makes sense if the players that you're benching aren't playing.
Yeah, like because if you're benching players who play, like wow, I wouldn't be looking to do that.
It's a little dicey. Yeah.
Keep Mahrez, yeah, we said that. Top 3 doublers apart from Liverpool, Arsenal, and Spurs. I said. So I think for me, it's got to be the Wolves' defense. As I was saying, I really do like getting one of their defenders, and I like that move with their fixtures to be played and that they don't have any blanks and how defensively tight they've been. What other team would you, I guess, say? So if we said like a Wolves defender was one of them,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Cornet.
Yeah, no, I think that could be a great pick. Obviously, Weghorst we've discussed, so we won't put him here. This is Cornet's time to shine.
That's right.
Just a Cornet
hitting that, especially if he's on that left hand side, and I'm gonna go out on a limb for the third. I mean, obviously we're stretching here because we can't pick the best assets.
Yeah.
So
we've picked Burnley so far, and Wolves.
Exactly.
Palace is there, right? Though, like Palace is one option.
Yeah. Palace could get something. I think Eduard could be something, but I gotta say, I like Rafinha.
Okay, so also there's
I like Rafinha especially against United. I think Rafinha could double return against United, get his first double-digit haul of the season, and then if he gets anything against Liverpool, it's just a bonus. So I'm going to throw Rafinha in there. I'm feeling bullish on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think I like that Rafinha pick, but I feel like you have to go for him. Like you love him. You've been
I know
you've been like banging his drum all season long.
It's true.
So Sankap has clarified from earlier that he can't really do much with that extra money he would then get from the downgrade to like Saka from a Bruno. So I think in that scenario for me, I'm not really sure. Like I think the extra Arsenal defender for me, like having the second one, to say you already have Ramsdale, that seems like a good. Saka's a great long-term option, but the way I would look at it is you can maybe then get him on game week 28 if that double gets confirmed, because you also know he doesn't blank in 30. So that's you might just have to miss out on him this week. Like the same way that I feel like I'm going to miss out on one or two assets I really want this week, but I'll get them next week or the week after because they're still going to be good long-term picks.
Right.
I think we'll answer Nehal's question and Combs' question and Prashant, and then we'll get out of here. So Nehal's asked about two options, Gallagher, Antonio, and Dawson to be sold for Rafinha, Laka, and Semedo in a -8. Or again, Gallagher, Jota, and Antonio, now that we've got the Jota news, to Mane, Ramsey, and Weghorst. I'll be honest, I'd pick option 2 personally because I think Dawson's fixture this week is fine. I don't think there's much upside in sending that defender to get another defender like Semedo. And again, if I was getting Wolves defense, Semedo would be the last pick I would pick actually. So I worry that Johnny could even take his spot, and I know he could then keep his spot on the wing that Johnny has come back to take from him. Semedo doesn't have cover until now, and he's not been that great. I don't think. I think any of their centre backs, Cody, Kilman, Saiz, they're fantastic. Nuri, if you're confident that Semedo's going to lose his spot one day to Johnny's return, but what do you think? Because I like the latter. Mane is a big punt though, but like I can't see why he'd sell Dawson in this scenario. Like it's just not for me.
I agree, and I like number 2, and I would
get Son instead of Mane. That's how I would make it better. But I don't want to. But he might have Kane. Who knows? So Ramsdale for -4 or Foster. So as in you already have Foster.
Has Foster,
and you're going to play him in this double that Watford have. See, if I had a double game with goalkeeper, I don't think I could then bring in Ramsdale for the -4, knowing he then blanks next week too. If you then don't have a playing keeper next week, so I don't think I could do that.
If you have a play, what if he does have a playing keeper next week?
If he has like a Sanchez, then
or a Guaita.
Then I think then maybe you could take that -4. But again, are there better moves you can be using your -4 on this week? I don't know. So Prashant, let us know, because you might have, like, if Jota's now out, like maybe there's a better move for you there, and Jota's the Son. If Jota's out, why not just play Foster for the double kind of thing? And then Combs' question we said we get to, so Reguilon to Saiz or Calvert-Lewin to Jimenez benching Jota. So he could do that. Obviously, then Jota blanks in 28. I think this would be a team value question more than anything, because normally if a player was going to miss a double and then they blank, and then they're probably going to blank in 30 again. That means Jota could only play in game week 28, 29 potentially. So we're talking about a 5 game week period where a player plays twice and other players might have doubles and no blanks. I don't think that benching him wouldn't be for me. It would be just a team value question. So maybe you don't have your wild card. Maybe you're scared how you're going to afford Jota back for an extra 0.5 million. So I've got him at 7.5 mil. Sell price is 8 mil. He costs 8.5 mil now. I think he's going to be one of the best assets to own all season. But if he's really out for these 2 games, like I just think you got to just go. Like you got to get Regulion out of here. Get your Wolves defender ready. And I wouldn't be benching Jota. Just forget Jimenez for now is my thinking here.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Jota out, should I get Saka or an Arsenal defender? Having both isn't an option. It's a tough one. I said I'd get double defense, but I would get double defense plus Saka. That's the issue here. So I don't know. I think I would back if the defensive option he's talking about is Ramsdale, then yeah, I'd get Ramsdale and get Saka in 28. But if the defensive option is you already have Ramsdale and it's actually a second Arsenal defender, then I would be getting Saka over the Arsenal second defender. I'd want 1 attack, 1 defense from Arsenal in this week. And I think David De Gea to Ramsdale might be my second hit of the week. Okay. I think that's a perfectly fine move.
I think
I have
that's a decent
considered
hit.
it. Yeah, I think so. So I think let's wrap it up. We're at 1 hour 54, guys. It's been nice to be back. We peaked over 50 views, which is nice. Obviously, they didn't know we were going live. Then we were half an hour late. We went live during the wire. So thanks for sticking around and dealing with the audio troubles. And Double Game Week 26 is going to be incredible. Very excited to see everyone's points in the community afterwards. So just to kind of say as well, anyone who is in London on Saturday and hasn't got in touch, if you want to meet Mariner while he's here from Singapore, we're meeting in London Bridge from like midday to midnight. So come along. There's 8 matches of FPL. There's also a boxing fight at 10, and there's live music from 8:30. So it turns into more of a kind of a night out. It's going to be pretty epic. We've got some great guests coming, like our friends and other fellow content creators such as FPL Focal, and I think Az is coming from Black Box for a bit, and Raptor as well. Even Mark Summers has talked about coming in the past. So I think overall, please do come. If you can't make it this month, they are monthly. There's talk of some of them being outside of London. So if you're from a different area and you want to help set one up and have us come and take over your city, whether it's a Bournemouth or a Cardiff or Manchester, let us know. I think it's been fantastic seeing the community come together in person. And now that we're able to do that more often, it's definitely something we should do often enough and celebrate this game that we're all madly obsessed with together. For now, though, it's been a pleasure, Gabe. It's good to see you. And thanks to all the haulers. And thanks again, Robbie, to being the first hauler to become a member on YouTube. And hopefully a few more will follow suit and support the growth of the channel. But otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe, leave that review on Apple. And we'll see you guys for Game Week 27 next Wednesday, potentially. I think we'll be
hit that join button.
Yeah.
Help us out. We will reinvest it back into the show and all of the tools and the metrics and that we create. So join Robbie. Don't leave him hanging.
Exactly. Help us become a hauler. And when you come to one of these London meetups or whatever city you're coming from in the world, tell me which month you're in London and we'll base the meetup around you as in return. So celebrate all the members of our wonderful community. So next time it could be a Robbie Fest if he's ever in London, not Mariner Fest. So we'll take it from there. Peace out, guys. Cheers. It's been a pleasure.